And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Our second series of the day, which will be in our Champions Scion division, we have University of Windsor versus the Concordia University of Wisconsin Falcons. I am Joe. Here, joined by me is Corbec. Corbec, it's been a while.
It has, Joe. Looking forward to casting some collegiate with you here this evening. See what these two teams have in store for us. Hopefully a good match, right? That's what we're always looking for here in collegiate. A good, enjoyable game.
Yeah, and collegiate maps, it feels like we'll get a pretty standard one for the most part, which we'll get into later. But first, we do have to look into the lineups of these two teams to learn a little bit more about who's actually playing in these games today.
Yeah, starting us off here, here's the University of Windsor Esports team, and they've got a lot of people on their roster, but these are the ones who you will be presumably seeing this evening. You've got Bucket Hat, though, Hell Corbex, Julian Rumglass, no name, and Skill right there to round it out. So not a lot of information to go off on this lineup, but I guess we'll see as they develop here, Joe, who's kind of doing what and who's running what, and hopefully they'll give us a bit of a clearer picture.
Yeah, and going over to our other team, which are the CUW Falcons, we have Augie, Chocoberry, Jawbreaker, Sonar, and Step Bro. And this team is also 1-0. To be noted as well, Windsor is 0-1. Both of their games going to a 3-map decider in that first one. So both close games. So it's still early in the season. We don't know exactly where these teams are yet. But as we kind of get into the second, the third game of the season, that's where you really start to see where these teams are. So I think today is really a bigger statement, more so than the first game, of where these two teams are at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you've had, a couple of games now to figure, or a game to figure yourself out, such as it were, and you can kind of come back into this now with a little bit of a refresh of the priorities, the things that you need to be focusing on, right? Like what you need to lock down for your future matches. And presumably both of these teams have gone over that, right? Like I imagine that's a discussion that they've had multiple times by now, right, in their practices, and they'll come into this new week with probably some new tricks in their bag, maybe some new things that they kind of want to try differently. So always interesting to see how teams develop as the season progresses. But this is really like, yeah, as you said, Joe, proving time, right? You got to start getting good. You don't want to go behind in the season too early, or that just creates more and more problems for you down the line.
Yeah, of course. And, going back to your point of things to work on, what better maps to work on than Oregon, Chalet, and Love? But as we go into our first map, that is Oregon. And I mean, we know how this map goes. We've been seeing it for so long, especially in the collegiate scene, right? This is a lot of teams' comfort maps. Is for the most part, it's a very default map. Everyone knows how to play it. So I think we'll definitely see which of the two teams is kind of better fundamentally when you go to a default map like this.
Yeah, this should be, about as bread and butter as you get, right, in the world of Rainbow Six Siege. Oregon is one of those maps that everybody should know how to play. And like you said, it tends to crop up an awful lot in collegiate matches as kind of the initial map. And I can't necessarily blame them for that, if I'm being honest, because it is such a sort of standardized map, right? Like this is one that you can take pretty much any team here and you can have some sort of realistic expectations of how their performance is going to look. I mean, just taking a look at the bans here, nothing too shocking. Dokkaebi going out, but taking Jackal, that does feel like more of a comfort ban than anything else. I think there's probably more powerful attackers in this day and age, but he's also an operator, Joe, you're never unhappy to see gone.
Yeah, I do think the Jackal is weird. I think the other three bans are spectacular, right? The Fenrir, especially on this map, can be almost busted at certain points, right? And then the Mira, obviously we know how powerful downstairs Mira can be. It can completely shut down the front side of the map and really force teams to try and execute more towards the back. But the Jackal ban, I mean, outside of a basement roam clear, which with how Oregon is kind of laid out, not always the best ban, but obviously, yeah, you're right. It's good that it's off the board. Teams can have certain operators, and as you do see the attackers, three hard breachers. It's a lot of walls that are going to get open.
Obviously, too, they've got a bit of an opportunity to shift that around if they so choose. But yeah, that's a lot of hard breachers to bring early on, and they're not making any swaps. I mean, Corbec is actually swapping the Iana over to the Nomad, so really a lineup that, in a certain sense, is going to be lacking a kind of dedicated entry. I guess the Nomad can fill that role, but usually you kind of want to have them seal off corridors as the entry is moving through the map. But that's neither here nor there. So we'll see how their attack, I guess, develops. And there is the swap over to the Thatcher, and I think that's ultimately a wise move right there. I mean, Kaid's still on the board, which means you do have to deal with the Electro Claws. Bring in the Thatcher here, Joe, and make it a little bit easier here for Canadian No Name to actually get some work done in these walls.
And depending how the defender's set up as well and how Sonar uses the Kibas, they have nothing to get rid of anything, whether it was a shield, which obviously they don't have, or these Kibas. So, you know, you have an ace charge, I guess, but that's it. No nades, no ash, no gons, nothing on that real side of the thing. So it's really going to rely on this ace getting a lot of value on getting these walls open and opening up as many angles as possible so that, you know, the attackers can have multiple areas to come through, because the Kiba barricades from an Azami can be so powerful, especially on this site, making certain one-ways in certain spots, and it's going to make the attackers' lives miserable if they can't get the walls open.
Yeah, indeed. And they've got clearly a cohesive plan here, and you can see that first wall is Canadian No Name. He's already got that one down right there, and he's sending in the drone, so they should have a pretty good idea of what's going on. But the fact that they haven't necessarily droned out the roamers here on the side of the Falcons is a little worrisome, right? Because you saw Chuckaberry, I think, was the one who was downstairs on... there's Chuckaberry coming back up to play the armory position, and that effectively gives him an uncontested cutoff right there, because none of the members of UWIN Esports have kind of chosen to deal with that side of the map, and this is sort of the price that you pay, right, by leaving armory essentially uncontested in this scenario.
It's uncontested, but as you do see with the attackers, they are everywhere on the map. Pressure on Big Window, pressure in Master, pressure in Attic, and like we said, all these walls are getting open, and even though there are roamers all over the place, the only real player that has any impact at the moment is Chocoberry sitting inside of Armory. Not clearing this player out could prove to be very detrimental, but the Attic pressure is really going to help them at least push in through Master, and the Thatcher now starting to take. They do know that there is this player inside Armory, going to take a gunfight, not going to be able to take anybody down, but Chocoberry taking as many fights as he possibly can to try and disrupt this round as much as possible, but that's the Mav starting to push up, and the push now coming through. Attic now in control of the attackers, and this defense as a whole is now going to seemingly fall apart as the Jaeger and Armory going down as well. Another player going down, and that is the attackers, a 5v2 with the site control, and Augie not able to find it. The C4 coming through, not going to find it. The attackers, University of Wisconsin, or excuse me, Windsor, gonna have every single bit of control that they need, and that is an opening attack round win.
Yeah, it's a bit of an unfortunate circumstance right there, I must admit, for the Falcons, because I feel like they did a lot of the right things, or more correctly, perhaps, UWIN Esports allowed them to do a lot of the right things right there to sort of set themselves up for a decent hold. But when Windsor just decided to force the matter, like when they just went in on it, the Falcons were not good enough in the gun skill department, I think, to kind of counter that out, right? Like that's the unfortunate consequence of what happened right there, is the Falcons could not counteract the aggression that UWIN Esports was piping their way, and that is often something that could be, you know, like negated by good positioning and good setup. And I won't necessarily say that the Falcons had a bad setup. It's just a bit unfortunate that they weren't able to turn their positioning into a more effective defensive round.
And we'll see if they can kind of change things a little bit here, right? The basement site, obviously a way easier site to hold than Kids. Still one of the only sites really in the map that have remained defender-sided, as the metas have shifted over and over again, more towards some attackers, back to the defenders. This site has always been defender-sided, so them going here maybe to try and switch things up a little bit. And once again, the attackers bringing out the Nomad and the Osa. Pretty interesting, and I do like the Osa on the big window. I'm not sure about exactly where they can use it and get the most ability, where, you know, you could bring operators like Flores or you know, like you said, a more of an entry operator, maybe an Ashe, an Iana, something to really take more engagements. And obviously that wasn't a problem in the first round, right, Corbec? But it can still prove to be one as we move forward in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're a little entry allergic, honestly. I mean, they're using the Nomad as an entry, right? We talked about this on the last round, and that's good and bad. I mean, she definitely is a good operator to have in the lineup. They don't have any frag grenades or the like, and the irony of not having any frag grenades right now in this specific scenario that they're looking at, right? Jawbreaker is sitting here in the security room. A frag grenade would make their life infinitely more difficult, and instead you're kind of forced to do a bit of a hard clear here on it, and skill is good enough, or Skill Monkey is good enough to finish it off. And again, this is what we're talking about, by the way, the just kind of gun skill of UWIN sort of carrying them through sort of challenging situations where it's not so much that they're outplaying their opponents in the sort of mental game, but they are certainly winning those 1v1s.
Still no nades, but the Aruni putting themselves in a very, very bad spot right there. The hatch not being open, no way to get out, and beautifully dealt with by Windsor as they find another kill, a 5v2 with so much time to work with on this execute. I'm going to see them maybe slow it down a little bit, make sure that they don't give away any picks, but that's going to be Julian's Rum Blast working forward, not able to find the kill. The Azami does bring one back, but the Nomad going to make the push, and that's 2 players going down. Sonar finding 2 and starting to make this round a little bit more realistic for the defenders to win, and maybe a little bit discoordinated from the attackers.
Yeah, a little disjointed, but I mean, look at this. Bucket Hat, though, just comes in and immediately scores a headshot onto Sonar. So that Valiant defense, essentially 4-0. Good kill right there from Chocoberry, trying to hold it together, but just the shotgun in hand is going to make this very difficult to do properly as the plant goes down. Bucket Hat will get that plant down, and here comes Chocoberry swinging in on the backside, trying to rotate here around towards the laundry. Might even attempt to use this peek hole. I can't imagine either of his opponents are silly enough to get caught by that. Certainly they're not. Chocoberry giving away his position right there with one shot. It's Bucket Hat, though, prone on the floor. We'll go ahead and pick up the second round win here.
They do end up cleaning it up. The entries, it's weird, right? The operators that they're bringing don't really scream entry heavy, but they've been dominating the entry engagements, and maybe that is due to the difference in the skill gap, you know, mechanically from Windsor, but it's 2 pretty convincing attack rounds on Oregon, and that is definitely a good start as Skill Monkey going to bring out the Osa again. I like it. You know what? Let him cook, Corbec.
Yeah, I mean, the Osa is not a bad pick, right, by any stretch of the word. She's a strong attacking operator. Usually you see her executed in a very sort of, I would say, specific strategic principles, right? Like, you have a setup in which you want the Osa shield to be sort of the anchor point for it. Not necessarily out of the realm of possibility here for what Windsor is bringing to the table, but I think more they just feel comfortable on that operator, and hey, if that's how it goes, that's how it goes. You know, you could see something interesting here between Helkerbex on the glass playing off big window with an Osa shield as partial cover. That might be the thought process, but I guess we'll just see what happens. I mean, I see Julian's Rum Glass on the backside right there. Might not be exactly what they're planning. The IQ edition, by the way, interesting choice, Joe. Interesting choice to bring in IQ. They're really kind of going through a lot of attacking operators right now, and IQ has, I feel like, some pretty specific uses. And I'm not sure exactly what she's being brought in to deal with here in this setup, if I'm being honest. You know, the one operator, by the way, that I haven't seen the defense play, who's totally free real estate in this one, Joe, is Valkyrie, which is surprising, considering how strong she is in organized play setups.
A bomb has been located.
Yeah, considering Solus is also on the board as well and hasn't seen one.
Yep.
There is the adjustment made, right? They do bring the shield, which is good. Yeah, there's no nades being brought out, so that'll definitely help out, but I mean, you're right. It's a little puzzling, and also with the way that they're setting up. Opening the head holes in the pit wall. For those of you at home, the little pit wall down at the bottom right there. If you're going to put head holes in that wall, the main reason you do that is so that you can help the trophy hold. Now, as you see, Corbec, there is no shield or
Right, they
a
haven't
player
extended.
in trophy at all. So those holes for the defenders, when the attackers do take control of trophy, they're going to work against their favor. And for them just giving away the control, that's not going to be great for them. But Sonar again on the Azami, going to have those Kibas to work with, and the shield, the Kiba's going to help out. That is a good part of the defense so far. And the other thing is, Corbec, nobody is on the ground yet. They have stayed alive past this point. First time so far, and that is a good start, a good sign, really, for Concordia.
Indeed it is, and the Concordia Falcons could desperately use a win here. I mean, they are, after all, wow, that was close. They are, after all, the defensive side on a very defensively favored map, right? And they just have not quite been able to convert, but they do get the opening kill. That should benefit them greatly. Sonar picking that up, and Sonar, by the way, has just been consistently solid here for the team. Augie playing underneath as well, trying to get the most value out of that shotgun. Chocoberry there, forced to give up a little bit of ground. But I mean, this has sort of been the tenor of all these rounds, Joe. Really good delays from the Falcons, and then Windsor just kind of goes, and suddenly they get kills. But maybe the script being flipped a little bit right here, because we've lost Skill Monkey and Julian's Rum Glass early on.
Wow. Look at them go. It is now No Name left in a 1v5. But hello! The Falcons give themselves a flawless defense, and the adjustments, they came through. We questioned them, but Corbec, they worked as they now get their first defense round of the series so far and bring it to 2-1. And they can continue to make adjustments like that. And I mean, I guess keep making the changes and be more malleable and flexible on their defenses. They can really start to pull things back as we saw that last round.
I must admit, that was a round that I felt was more in keeping with how I would expect these rounds to be going, just by the way that the Falcons are playing a pretty decent, flexible defense, right? Like, pulling back when they kind of need to and holding the right sort of power positions. And that would be the outcome I would have expected back in, like, round number 1, right? When you had somebody sitting off an armory. So it's good that it finally starts converting. But, you know, I just want to say, I am surprised that you don't have a Solus or a Valkyrie in these lineups. I think, you know, going forward here for the Falcons, that's probably something they want to look at, right? Like, if they're watching this back, they might want to consider bringing one of those two, perhaps bringing a Solus instead of the Mute, because, I mean, Solus is a great anti-drone operator in addition to her intelligence gathering abilities. Though I will say, I don't think that's been the big issue here for the Falcons, and that was a win that they very much needed. So let's see if they can kind of repeat that again against UWIN Esports. I'm interested. I don't know. The basement site, it is a strong defensive site, as you well know, Joe, but it does have a tendency to kind of get out of hand, and that's what we saw effectively last time the site was being attacked.
I just think that the Falcons aren't really defending the areas of the map that they should be, right? There are certain areas on the downstairs that are difficult to take. For instance, areas like Freezer, when an Azami is up. Freezer can be so difficult if you put the correct Azami barricade one way is because of really anything, but they're just giving up so much space from that. And look, Windsor already at the bottom of main stairs. There is a roamer still yet to be dealt with, but still, this is a spot that you really don't want the attackers, and they also don't know that there is an attacker there.
Yeah. Ooh, and there's payoff from that. Like you picking up a kill, not even using the shield, just going in point blank with the gun as the entry. And yeah, this is not the first time that a roamer has been bypassed here. Good clapback though from Stepro right there to keep it equal, right? In the 4v4, that could have gotten out of hand, and losing Helkerbecks right there before they could really get any of those frag grenades off from the laundering position, I think was overall beneficial. But Stepro now needs to step it up a little bit and come back in on this, right? Like you got a minute 30 left in the round. You've been bypassed by the majority of these attackers. You need to be playing your angles a little bit better and kind of pushing back in. But he's actually, by the looks of it, if I can tell from the silhouettes, kind of been cut off here. And let's see if he challenges it. And he is unsuccessful. So Bucket Hat, though, providing the kind of human air jab right there. I don't know what you want to call it, Joe, to stop the roamer from coming back in at a critical moment.
Yeah, and that's a big kill. Right now that they know that they have this area of the map, they know that they have the top floor, they can actually start working towards this execute. And with the man advantage, it's going to make things so much easier. And this time they do have some information on towards Freezer, but once again, they don't have any Kibas facing it. It's just going to be a peak fest. And the Azami, or excuse me, the Aruni, trying to get aggressive and find a pick. Skill Monkey's in a very good area. You do see him on the E-Box hatch, and that's going to be a very big spot. Hitting the back while this execute comes through, going to shift the attention of the defenders. But as there's only 25 seconds left, this execute needs to come in at some point, and it looks like that point is going to be now. 3 players in the bottom of main stairs. As Skill Monkey with the Osa shield, just going to walk on forward, shield down, and the case might go through, and the C4 comes out, which would have been massive, but ends up getting taken down before it comes through. And that is going to be another attack win. So close from that round being completely blown to bits, but the C4 not able to be detonated, and that is another attack win.
It's pretty much in line with the other successful Windsor attacks, right? Like late round executes, kind of just pushing hard into the face of the Falcons. The Falcons sort of not responding particularly well to that aggression, and that's not that's not set in stone. We've seen them do really well in response to that aggression, but I think the round that they did best on, and the thing that they need to imitate right now, just to hold on to a decent defensive record, is when they got the kills early, right? Like that was the round that they won. They don't want to be in these late round situations, which sort of seems to be where Windsor is excelling, right? They want to stop them, pick off maybe one person on the roam, 2 people on the roam, and really cut the legs out from underneath them. But going over now to the tertiary site, Joe, and that's going to be a heavy ask. This is not an easy site to defend.
No, not at all. I think you're making a really good point. I think, at least the way that I'm seeing it, the Falcons aren't... Everything that they're doing is separated, and I think that is a very big reason of why these late rounds are not going their way. Whether that's communication or just the ability to know where and when they should be in certain spots and what they should be watching. Either way, it's just not looking great from them. That when it comes down to the executes, it's like...
5 seconds left.
You know, what are we watching? Who's supposed to be watching what? Who's swinging when? That Osa should not be able to just walk through main and allow that to happen. And I mean, it kind of just comes in that way. But you do go to the tertiary site, a big ask, like you said, facing a 4-1 deficit on your defensive half on Oregon is not a position you want to be in. So this is a huge, huge round.
Well, yeah, no, it is actually genuinely a huge round, because you don't want to come off a 4-2. You really don't want to come off a 4-2. Not in Oregon, of all maps. You just don't want to do that. And, you know, there are some changes here in the defensive lineup that I think are quite good, like getting the castle in there. I mean, there's nothing immediately apparent in this lineup outside of the, Canadian no-name exothermics that can deal with those castle barricades easily. There's no soft reach or anything like that. So a little bit of a challenge being set up right there. Let's see what they do with this vertical play as well. They do continue to bring the IQ here on the side of UWIN. I'm not entirely sure exactly what they're looking for with that. Stepbro, I think, essentially undetected in this position, should be able to turn a pretty good play here, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. You need to get an early kill with the roamer, but look at how direct they're being with this approach here on the side of UWIN Esports, really not caring about roamers or anything like that. Immediate sight reach. They could go in for a plant here behind the Osa shield of Skill Monkey, and I'm not sure the Falcons are in a position to contest it.
There doesn't seem to be any vert either, so I don't know. It kind of just comes down to this one player, the castle inside of security and the warden inside of site. With no vert ult being made, you got to question, what are these players upstairs doing to begin with? They're not forcing them to come up and clear them, and it's looking like Windsor's going to make the play. Smoke's coming through. That is a warden, and he's going to be able to see it. C4 comes out to deny him off the plant. He does just that. A big kill for the Falcons to get, as Chocoberry going to make a play towards Z, not able to find it. The plant now going to start going down again, but no C4 is able to do anything about it. Sonar going to try and make the vert late, does do it, but the kill does not come in time. The case is down, and it looks like an easy post-plant so far. Sonar now going to have to find a 1v3 to close this one out.
No way. No way. I was going to say, there's no way Buckethead gets an ace playing off of the same position there in meeting room. It'll be Hell Corbec that finishes it off at the end in a critical round right there, pulled together by Windsor's. Again, hyper-aggressive attack. They hesitated not at all, Joe, to get in on that. And part of the problem there was the Falcons rotating back through the same security corridor angle again and again and again, allowed Buckethead, though, to pick up 3 kills off of that. 3 kills off of one angle, and that's rough. Like that should that's something that we need to take a look at and kind of correct ASAP, right? It was almost like the exact opposite problem they were having, which is that their roamers were coming back in a little too quickly, weren't being cautious enough. So it's a balancing act. This is also, and I know it probably gets a little cliche to say it, but I feel like this is also a critical round here, Joe, right? You got to at least get the 4-2 on the defense, right? On a map like Oregon, you must get the 4-2.
Yeah, dude, 5-1 is pretty cut and dry. This match over. Like, right? Like, if that's what it is. And I think there's a certain thing kind of coming on with both teams, and I think the credit needs to go to Windsor, because you see them not really taking the entirety of the map. You see them just opening the wall and going straight for plant. There's no vert holes. They don't need to do anything else.
10 seconds left.
Like, the one player that can even stop the plant is either above or on that security hole. The security player, you shouldn't do anything. They're filing. So, you know, that needs to be said. Windsor doing a great job finding, understanding, hey, we really don't have to clear this area of the map. Let's just hit site. And they're doing a great job at that. My one thing is with Concordia, with the Falcons, they are not doing anything to punish that. That has to be noticed by this point. You're 5 rounds in, you're now in your 6th round. It should have been noticed by this point that Windsor's not clearing the map. Use operators like the Valk for the information, like the Solus. Use operators that will punish these players for not clearing the map. That is something that they have not really done at all, and they still have not made that adjustment. And unfortunately, I think that's what's going to really come back to really hurt them, to bite them.
Yeah, heck, use a Capcan. Like, use just traps. If you're gonna be able to get them into relatively predictable routes, like 3 or 4 stacked up in one place, like, put traps, slow them down, you know, run a Legion in there or something, and just make their life that much more difficult. But yeah, Valkyr Solus would, I think, really help. And again, this is not a huge criticism. This is just like for future reference if they're watching this back. I think that would really help them execute a little bit better when it comes time for the roamers to actually get the picks they need to get, right? Like that's it. That's the critical point here, because look at Chocoberry, right? Chocoberry has played some decent roaming positions. He has been active as a roamer, but he is losing, I think, a couple of these 1v1s that he runs into, largely because he doesn't have exact positioning of his opponents. So he's kind of having to blind peek corners and stuff. And that was what allowed that hallway section to become such a murderous area. But speaking of roamers, Stepbro coming off the top ropes here, catches 2, jumping down from the high tower. Now it kind of goes back the other direction. How did the Falcons miss drone? Stepbro hiding up in the top level of Big Tower. That's a old school classic mistake right there.
And actually punishing them for not clearing the map, just going through the motions, thinking, hey, we don't need to do all this. No. There's someone hiding up there, and 2 big kills coming through, and that's a lot of pressure alleviated for the defenders. And now, not just with that pressure being alleviated, but having 2-man advantage, but it's not going to matter. Windsor finding 1, and they do know that this player is going to have to peek. Not sure he's watched the cross. Stepbro in a really good spot, and he's going to try and find the kill. He does! That is his 3rd of the round. A 4v2, and the Falcons now looking like they are going to take this round and remain in striking distance.
Yeah, that was a round they massively needed to win. Stepbro coming in huge right there for Concordia. Exactly the kind of performance they needed. I mean, finally a roamer taking full advantage of the misdrone, the lack of diligence in the clear right there on the side of Windsor to collect some major kills. And once he was kind of on a tear, there was no shutting him down as the side swap does come in. So we're going to get the first look here at the Falcons on their first attempt on the attack. Let's see what their opponents, by the way, have in the bag. They're bringing the Bandit along, so they are not going with the Kaid. They're also bringing the Valkyrie, of which we have spoken often, Joe. So a solid, if expected, defensive lineup.
Yeah, the Valk is great, but I would love a Solus, personally. I would love it. I think there's certain operators where, you know, you have, I don't know how to explain it. It's like the better you are with that operator, or the better the player is, the better the hands that are using it, the better it is, right? Like Solus, Azami, these players, you know, like if you have those two operators, I'm trying to put this into words, good words. A good player on Solus is devastating to an attack. Devastating. Same with the Azami. If you put those Kibas in the correct spot, it is going to be very difficult for certain teams to play around it. And I think with those two operators up, especially on this map, not bringing them out is a tough one to see. You do have the Valk, which is great. We'll see how they use or opt to use that information, but I still would like to see the Solus. I think there's so much potential on that defense to make their lives so much easier and continue to find those opening picks, but you got to bring it.
You got to bring it. I agree. And, you know, I'm curious to see how Windsor's aggression on the attack translates to a defense, whether they themselves will play very aggressively. I mean, you look at the positioning of Helkerbex right here, and maybe that gives you a bit of an idea. Though, you know, it's weird, and I hate to see this. It is a bit of a roam a little far out of pocket. You're not providing the most as you can, and the fact that he's crawling back towards security hallway, I think he's got a good handle of what they need to do right there. The Falcons need to muster a pretty quick attack here. I think that would be something that would probably put Windsor a little bit on the back foot. There's no defender over in Armory. There's no hold in Trophy, so they should be able to create some decent space for themselves right here, but they don't mark Julian's Rum Glass. Will collect 2 kills on the backside right there. Poor Sonar was aware of what was going down, but got caught looking. And that is just unfortunate indeed. So Julian's Rum Glass has essentially taken the pillar out of one side of the attack right here, and that is going to make this incredibly difficult for the Falcons to finish this off.
I mean, it's a big one, right? I mean, I guess both teams. I don't want to call it. Yeah, actually, I am going to call it. It's lazy droning. That's the term we've always liked to use in our competitive days. It's lazy droning, right? Droning for the sake of droning, and typically missing certain players. And now you see Windsor really having the confidence come through, and almost a pick back from Stepbro, who's starting to heat up. But Augie finding the pick, and maybe a little bit of a lifeline for the Falcons in this round. There's a minute left, and now a 3v3, a big kill to find downstairs. That's the Jaeger of Helkerbex going down. And a huge spot now, from a 5v3 to a 3v3 out of nowhere, and a lot of control. They still have the Thatcher. They still have the Ace. So much that can get done, and unfortunately that Ace is not going to go off as it is sitting on there. But what is No Name doing sitting in the middle of the room? And Stepbro still somehow alive, gets taken down by Bucket Hat. What the hell is going on as Bucket Hat finds 2? It's a 2v1.
Attackers have recovered.
What just happened?
That was wild. I mean, coming down to the wire there, you think that the Falcons are pulling it back, and for a second they were, and then who else but Bucket Hat, though? 14 kills on the board, absolutely saves the day. Augie now forced to kind of point blank this one, probably going to have to actually walk in through the gate and everything. This is just really unfortunate. There's the move. Here comes Augie, far too late, though. No chance to get the case down. And Windsor picks up a defensive round, and my heart goes out to the Falcons right there, because I felt like they were on the comeback. You know, they were staging a comeback, and then it was just shut down in its prime by a very aggressive set of plays from Bucket Hat, though.
Yeah, and I think winning a round like that can obviously really get the momentum into your way, right? I mean, you know, being a 4-3, winning your first attack, and still there are the problems, right, where they're not finding that early control. The entry is a huge issue where you can't always win 3v5s. It's just not going to happen. And they need to figure out, you know, early round, what the heck's going wrong? How can we fix this and get ourselves an advantage? Because it feels like the one problem with the Falcons at this moment is they are always fighting back foot, and that is not a good position to be in, whether you're the defenders. It doesn't matter what side you're on. If you're always fighting off the back foot, it means you're always uncomfortable. Typically, bad decisions are going to come out. It's just not going to go well for the most part. So they need to find a way to try and flip the script a little bit, get themselves on the advantage.
So we're changing up the defensive setup as we go down here to the basement. The attacking setup undergoing some changes here as well. Gridlock coming in. You're also adding a Capitao to the mix. Flores is a very, very good choice, by the way. One of the attackers who did not get banned, and he is incredibly strong on Oregon if used correctly, just for his pure potential in the area of util destruction. Obviously, the mute being involved slows it down, and what is that? Oh, no. I wonder what the issue was there. That could have that might have been a wrong skin. That's all I can know.
It is a skin. It was a skin.
Skill Monkey just walks out and claps Augie. So all the discussion right there of the usefulness of a Flores is rendered moot because he is the first around the corner and the first to die, realistically, in this matchup. Julian's Rum Glass nearly gets caught looking and should theoretically peel back, and he does as Chocoberry takes over on the top floor there.
It's a crazy play. It almost allows me to forgive Skill Monkey for switching off of the Solus. Almost. Not there yet. I'm not there yet, but I'm close to forgiveness. Needs 2 more kills for that. But that's okay. You have the Wamai, and I still am a big fan. And another thing that needs to be noted, right? Let's look at the scoreboard real quick. Bucket Hat, 14-2 after 7 rounds. That has come out of nowhere. I didn't even realize it was happening.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it was a very quiet 14-2, which is almost the best 14-2s. You know, like, that's almost the best part. It's like sometimes you're just playing so well, you're just doing your job so well, that's just all coming together, and I think that's a great spot to be in. And kind of going more into this, you have the Falcons who are moving around the map as if they have full control of it. And as you see where Julian's Rum Glass is, that is not the case, Corbec.
Yeah, they did they're coming here, and unfortunately he's going to get caught by the alibi. I mean, they've got 2 of the defenders at very low health, right? It's just a matter of cutting them off, and that's not what they wanted. Julian's Rum Glass still effective. Skill Monkey getting another one, that time with the Rhino of all things, and this is looking bad to worse here for the Falcons because they've lost Chocoberry too, so it's all down in the hands of Sonar. Coming back towards the main hallway off of the tracks, and the information game not there. And I think this is speaking to something that was sort of coming together on the defense here, Joe, but is now more apparent on the attack, which is that Concordia is just not doing enough with information. They're not gathering enough information. They're not doing enough with it. And that was hurting them on the defense, but it's absolutely putting the stops on them here on the attack, because Windsor is more than happy, right, to just collect these kills, some of which, let's be honest, they really should not be getting.
100%. And I also think it goes back to a point that you made, in like the second round, where the later the clock really goes to, the later phases of the round that we go to, the worse it feels like for the Falcons, right? And the advantage goes more towards Windsor, where the late round is almost always going in their direction, whether it's 3v3, a 2v4, like a 5v5. It doesn't matter what the man count is. It always feels like we get to those late round situations, and Windsor is the one playing it way more correctly. And finally, it's finally happened on potentially the last round. The Solus has come out. Skill Monkey, I forgive you for playing with my feelings the last round. I forgive you. I'm excited for
Here comes the Solus, and this is, by the way, what we're talking about in terms of value. I mean, good intel being gathered right here. Just knowing, by the way, the positioning of basic drones for a relatively good map knowledge player, a relatively cohesive team can actually give you a good idea of exactly what your opponents are trying to do, right? Like, that is actually something that happens. Well, that's a bold run out right there by Skill Monkey, but I can't actually blame them for doing that. They have given sort of a free pass here to the members of the Falcons who might want to come through that window, but that's probably a late round consideration more than anything else. Let's take a look, speaking of their opponents, of what Concordia is doing here. Assailing the big tower as Jawbreaker sends in the drone for it. All very standard. Can't blame them there. Trying to get top control here. And it looks to me, if they're trying to establish top control, that they're going to be going for an attack on bomb site A. Unfortunately, though, Stepbro getting cut down right there probably means that they're not going to muster up much pressure on the other side to distract from their main push.
Yeah, I think, look at this. That is a crazy play. That one was wild. I was about to say something, but I feel like I need to pause and let everyone know that was a crazy thing to do. That was wild. But that's okay. Even up. 4v4. The Solus already got his pick. Doesn't matter all too much, but what does matter is Bucket Hat is still on the board. 14-2. And you know who even needs Bucket Hat when you got Julian's Rum Glass starting to really heat up on this defense, up to 8-5 at this moment in time. And I mean, as we keep going through these rounds, Windsor just looking better, more comfortable. You see Skill Monkey. I mean, you don't make a play like that unless you're confident in not just your teammates to be able to win the round, but you're confident in the other team not really doing anything. But No Name ends up going down. That is a beautiful use of the Ram drone, and I think they have mostly site control here. If they want to start going for a plant, they need to get this attic wall open to try and get this player off of the hatch if they possibly can. But I'm not sure they can. They definitely can. They have EMPs. Just depends on if they want to or not.
It was really well done, by the way. To go back to it, Augie getting the kill there with the Ram. I completely caught the defender flat-footed. You got to love to see that. The drone coming in right there. Helkerbeck's rotating around to follow that yokai and at least keep an idea of what's going on in that general direction. Julian Drumglass still holding up top, finds one onto Augie. Chocoberry trying to contest. That's a brutal angle for an attacker to take, though. He won't get anything off that as the track stingers come out. Jawbreaker trying to find the kill, won't do it. Just keeps spraying gunfire towards Helkerbecks, but the slowdown has been made so great here by the fact that Julian's Rumglass is not being divested on that top floor. Watch the stun come in. They don't even need it. Chocoberry caught looking by Helkerbecks. That just leaves Jawbreaker. He's going to get aggressive right here. What other choice does he really have in this situation? And he is caught looking by the defender there with the extended barrel. That's an unfortunate loss right there for the Concordia University Falcons.
Dude. Why? I mean, we said it. Why did they not open the T2 wall? It was there. They had EMPs. They had the thermite charges to do it. And they didn't go for it. And then the player on the hatch denied all of meeting, killed one person, put the other one to 1 HP. And that's where the round unfolds.
You know, and this is the thing, right? You know, we talked about Oregon at the start of this, and we did say it's a very good learning. It's basic map, right? It's a learning map. Yeah. There are lessons to be learned there for the Falcons. I'm sure they will take them to heart. I think there are some things that they definitely could have benefited from doing differently. You know, and we should give, you know, proper laurels to the side of University of Windsor, who played admittedly a very well organized and very clean game of Siege. I think their attack, there were definitely times where they benefited a little bit from certain situations, but on the defense, they looked relatively impeccable. I mean, they had really good positions. They are doing good information feedback loops, right? Moving players where they needed to be. And you like to see it, but they might not hold on to that. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We've got another map coming up for you, so don't go anywhere. The rest of this match right here on NECC in just a few moments.
And welcome back. Map 1, maybe not so close, a 7-2 victory for Windsor, but we are now moving on to a different map. It's okay. Completely different. It's not Oregon anymore. Corbec, Chalet.
No, it's not Oregon anymore. We're moving on to Chalet. Another map that has become more and more of a favorite here in competitive Siege circles. This is one that I think you'll see pretty much played at every tier of the game. And often making its rounds up, even in tier 1, right? A lot of people like Chalet as a map, so I'm not surprised that we're seeing it here as well. The issue that I would have, or what I would be a little bit worried about if I was on the side of Concordia, is that it is a more complicated map than Oregon, right? Like, there's no doubt that Chalet requires more complicated defensive setups, more complicated attacking structures, but maybe it's a map that they just like a little bit better. I don't actually know who picked it. Maybe we can get that information a little bit later on. That might elucidate the decision just a little bit more, but let's go ahead and get started, see what they have for us here in the band phase as Concordia University Wisconsin tries to win it back against the University of Windsor.
Yeah, and I think one more point that needs to kind of go towards Chalet as well is I think this is one of the most important maps when it comes to the entry. I think Chalet is just one of those maps where more than any other map in the pool, that the entry is such a huge, right? If you're on the attacking side, finding that opening pick just gives you so much space to work with on the map. Whereas as you're the defenders, you kind of need it because if you don't find that opening pick, you lose pressure from so many spots. And I just think the map is small enough to the point where like, you find that opening control, that opening pick is going to be huge in allowing you to do that. So I think that's where, Concordia Falcons really struggled to find that on Oregon. I think that's why they lost so bad on Oregon. And if they can't figure out how to change that on Chalet, I think we're in for a very similar story.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I want to give Concordia kind of the benefit of the doubt here that they can hop back into this one, but no guarantees on that. Interesting ban, by the way, from University of Windsor right out the gate. They're going to go ahead and take Ace off the board. Not an operator that I usually see banned all that often, and that's going to leave some pretty good options in the attacking stable. The one that immediately stands out to me is one that we actually didn't see that much play of on their last map, which is Flores, who has a really good ability to chew through some of the most effective defensive setups here. And then Azami getting taken, those are sensible defensive bans, right? Fender, Azami, two of the strongest defenders in the game right now. Arguably, Azami, probably the strongest defender in the game right now. And having her out of the defense actually does sort of shift the calculations of the defenders a significant amount when you can't just sort of huck Kiba barricades out to make up for lost time.
Yeah, you can't. And I mean, Azami is, once again, this is a very good map for Azami, so definitely easy to see why it was banned. But once again, Corbec, Falc, Solus, both up, and guess who's not being played? Both of them. They're both not being played. I think Solus is probably more powerful on this map than on Oregon. I think Valk is also more powerful on this map than on Oregon, just because there's so many little tiny spots you can hide those cams in, and if you're not bringing IQ, it can be very difficult to spot. I just think there's a lot of operators on this map that are super strong. On both sides, right? On the attackers, you have operators like Brava, who can be very powerful, Flores, so it's a lot of very strong operators, and my issue is neither team is running them. So I guess it's not too big of a problem, because it's not like one team's getting an advantage from it, because they're both not running them, right? But that's something I at least would like to see develop over the time of the game. These teams realize, okay, Solus is up. Let's run out a little bit. Let's see where these claymores are. Let's see who's droning. Let's see where the gaps are. Let's just hit them. Because I think, like we said with Chalet, you got to make the plays. Solus allows you to make them.
Yeah, I think there's something to be added to this as well. So the idea that, like, you do kind of, at this level of gameplay, I think if you're a coach or what have you, you do encourage your teams to play the things that they're... Oh, no. I hope that's not another skin issue, honestly. Because that's twice now. Obviously UWIN, that's not impacted their performance per se, but it's definitely not something you like to see there at the start. I'm assuming that's what it is. Corbec was there. Corbec was wearing something he wasn't supposed to. But back to my point. If you're a coach, you do try and encourage your team to play the things that they're comfortable with. And Step Bro steps in a trap and puts him down almost immediately. So we are back to square one here. Even Stevens on the 4-4 and playing what seems to be working out for you, Windsor.
They reinforced the wrong side of the library wall. It's okay. No biggie. As we see, they are really struggling to take libraries. That is a second pick, a third for Julian's run glass. Finally going to get taken down, but not before swinging the man to Windsor's direction. A big three from the Frost holding Nez, but unfortunately No Name gonna try and flank Blue and gonna get shut down by Jawbreaker, and now a 2v2 with plenty of time. The one problem is there is nothing now for the attackers to deal with that shield in Piano, and that is gonna make things very difficult for them here.
Yeah, ultimately, this is going to be the real challenge of this, right? Is how do you kind of divest Bucket Hat, though, from that position? Skill Monkey is there. I mean, these are just denying effective plants, right? And that angle is way too strong from Piano for it to just sort of be, a running thing to have that there. This is, by the way, where the aforementioned Flores would really come in handy, right? Because you can probably relatively easily get that shield out of contention. Sonar here going to point blank push this, runs face first into the Aruni, somehow still alive, swings out the gun and gets the kill onto Skill Monkey. That's a wild bit of play right there for the Falcons.
Oh my goodness. And now they have the Osa shield, and they can actually put the bomb down behind the shield. I kind of like this. They're completely neglecting Piano as a whole. The Echo Drone going to come through, sees it, spots it, gets him off the plant, but they know that the Echo Drone is there. Bucket Hat going to stay off of the cam, but I think he's going to shoot right into the shield. Now the drone is gone. Not able to find the cover. And now a 2v1 post plant. Bomb down on the doorway. It's going to make things insanely difficult for Bucket Hat to win this with only 30 seconds to work with. No information here, and maybe going to pop the shield to be able to play it close, but no information to deal with. Going to have to deal with this player on Mez here, playing close on the heaven wall, not able to find it. Sonar finding it, and a beautiful way to bring it back from the attack. That is an opportunity you have got to be taking if you are the defenders of Windsor.
Great swing right there from Sonar at the end to collect the kill. Completely got the defender unaware, and that's a difficult situation for Bucket Hat, though, to be in. Honestly, not a lot of tools at their disposal. You know, the Yokai is obviously very strong in their way. Echo should still be considered a decent anchor option, but, you know, once the initial blasts are gone, once the plant is down, it is just back to a pure 2v1, and there's only so much good the Yokais could do in that limited time frame. Solus making an appearance here. Skill Monkey will take that defender out for a ride, and that is a very good decision to be making here as they move up to the second floor, if only because you get a Solus underneath this site, Joe, and you have a ton of information that you can pipe back to your team as they make their attack. So I've got nothing to complain about right there. I assume that Windsor has learned a bit from what went down, and hopefully to their benefit, they're not going to start this one at a 4v5 either.
I think one thing that they definitely need to know as well, or at least get a better grasp on, is when they need to make plays and when they don't, right? They had that 3v2, and to a point, you didn't need to make the play anymore. It was over. No more needed to be done. But the flank came up, blue from the Jaeger, ends up getting taken down, back to a 2v2. Those situations are those times it's like, okay, guys, we need to stop swinging, let the attackers make the play. We have the man advantage. We don't need to do anything else. Our job has been done. I think that's the one thing that they need to really get a hold of on the defense, because obviously on Chalet, I've said it before, you have to make the plays. There does come a point where you no longer need to make the plays, where the job is finished. Get to that point, understand when they're at that point, and then respond accordingly.
I'll grab us some intel.
Yeah, that's valid. I mean, we're 30 seconds into the round here, and everything looking relatively calm. Skill Monkey, by the way, is underneath, as expected. And that is where the Solus does thrive, right? Playing from this position. I mean, look at the sheer amount of what you know being given to you right there. Now, you cannot get caught looking for that drone, though. That's the other thing. Some Solus players get a little caught up in the moment, and they have a tendency to get caught out. But Augie going down first. Corbeck's there holding up on the top deck of Library Corridor. Gets a good kill out. Thank you, Observer, for showing that. A well-earned pickup right there, as Julian Rumglass continues to hold the sort of power position that we usually expect a defender to hold here, staving off both Library and Mez window at the moment, and gets caught out by the Iana drone. But still, the Falcons not made as much of an effort as they would like to in these early stages. Chocoberry does get the kill right there, but it's immediately traded back by Skill Monkey, so the gap continues to be 4-3.
Big spot for them, right? The defenders now have a pretty good spot to be in, and this is a very hard spot to clear out now. You have Skill Monkey down below inside of bar. None of these players really feeling safe up top, but they still have to deal with this Jaeger at the top of the blue stairs. They have no idea where this player's at. And there's a BP as well. Feeding the Jaeger this information. They have no idea that this player's there, but the Jaeger's actually going to make a bunch of sound. Gonna end up running away, not before Sonar gets taken down, but not gonna be able to confirm the kill, and tough spot to be, right? That was a huge opportunity for them to go crazy, and Sonar actually gonna pick himself up. Nobody swinging the lobby side, and that's crazy. Hey, that is crazy that he ends up not getting confirmed. There's now 40 seconds left, the wall now not open quite yet, and Windsor in a spot again to win the round. We'll see if they can close it out this time. But before, they weren't able to get it done this time. Let's see if they can get it done, Corbec.
Yeah, the blast through the wall right there with the exothermic, which opens it up, but only 20 seconds left on the clock. They have to slam that plant down. Do they have smokes to use here? They have one. The Yokai in position to potentially deny this as Canadian No Name throws the nitro cell out, but no joy on that. Skill Monkey playing underneath, looking for a kill. Sonar gets one. Here comes the plant. Skill Monkey trying to use the impact to interrupt the planter. It works. Jawbreaker is down. And a good defensive hold right there by Windsor to shut down the Falcons, who admittedly had made a pretty solid attempt right there, but you cannot leave the Solus unmarked underneath. You're just asking for trouble.
They got it done. They got it done on the defense. They didn't have to do all too much after they made the play early. They got the advantage. They got out without too much dodge, right? They got out. Just a little HP gone. Nothing crazy. Yeah, no picks. Nothing wild. They get out and they're able to use numbers around, win their first defense. And this map is an attacker-sided map. So that is something to be noted. So any defense rounds that they really do get is a luxury. That's a good thing for them to have. And so they can continue to rack up these rounds, put themselves onto their attack, which, by the way, was fantastic on the last map. They went 4-2 on their Oregon attacks. Imagine what they're going to be able to do on Chalet. So a good round for them and a good adjustment for them to realize, hey, we need to just stay alive towards the late round, do what we did on Oregon, get it done, and they do just that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. They needed the second round right there to kind of go their way, just to, I think, to sort of reassert, right, that they're not going to be run back on this map. Right? It was a good attack from the Falcons. Let's just shut that down right now. Whether or not they maintain that sort of authoritative position, we'll see. I mean, basement is becoming a much more easy site to defend, let's be honest, than it used to be, because for a while there, nobody would touch basement with a 10-foot pole, and then it kind of came back into the meta. Interesting, by the way, that they've invested down there in the basement, Canadian No Name, on the actual bandit trick, because honestly, there are plenty of teams in more organized play settings, Joe, who will just neglect the garage door entirely. Like, they genuinely will not care about it, which is something that you wouldn't really see in a lot of your kind of mid to low level ranked games.
I didn't say that. Mid to low level rankings. You're like adding me. It's like me.
Oh, I'm lower than mid to low level, so it's all good.
Just kidding. I just, we don't want to say mid to low level. What even is ranked, right? Like what even is the levels? Exactly. Like your rank isn't even what they do the matchmaking on. It's the old rank, the hidden MMR. It's weird. Huh. Whatever. All good. As we now see the bandit trick coming through. Did he do the wrong side? Okay, they decided to not put one down at all. So they're not down one exothermic charge. I'm a little confused though, because I don't think they're going to be able to get this open. Sorry, I'm just watching. And I'm not really know. I feel like there's nothing to say right now.
Like, is there an end to this story? This little dramatic arc here as Canadian tries and keeps that sanctity of the wall right there, and I think the answer is he succeeded. I don't actually know. Usually, the bane of the bandit trick is genuinely yeah, there it is. The collie is the bane of the bandit trick usually, and we see that in action. It does go down. So they've got the hole in the garage door now, but the question remains, like, what do you do with it? Good kill from Step Pro from downtown with the Collie DR, big old gun. I don't even know what the proper term for it is. The sniper, I guess. The anti-material rifle right there. Unfortunate for the members of Windsor that they got caught looking by one of those suckers. You never like to be the guy that gets caught out by that. The track's going down right here. Skill Monkey trying to blast them back so they can move down into basement corridor, Joe, and try and bring some additional pressure to this attack.
And I mean, you definitely don't want to get your face taken off by a sniper rifle. That's not on their bingo card, I'm assuming. So maybe not. Sephiroth's a good spot. I don't think they know that he's going to be here, and Chocolate does find one. Skill Monkey has a huge responsibility here to hit on the flank, but it's going to have to make it happen quick, as you do see the Falcons all the way through sight, and everyone's going to get taken down. Concordia finding another attack and finding their footing on Chalet, looking much, much better than they did on the previous.
Yeah, it's a very convincing attack there from the Falcons. Honestly, I liked a lot of what they did. And as much as I talked about some teams, they neglect to attack through the garage door, not so for the Falcons, they actually did a really good pivot kind of back to focusing on that. And the fact that they were able to establish the pinch pressure coming in as well through the basement hallway, I think was the real X factor in that attacking setup. So much credit to them there to execute that.
Defenders
And I would say overall,
by attackers.
they're looking a little bit more in control, a little bit more solid here in these first few rounds of Chalet, I must admit, than they did on the Oregon.
I mean, yeah, it seems like they're much more comfortable on this map than Oregon, which I guess is understandable. Right? They are different maps, so can't expect the exact same thing to go through both times. But I just think that there's certain things that are being done a little bit better. I think the utility usage for Concordia is a lot better than apps are, and it was on the previous, right? Getting the wall open, the snow wall open was huge, and getting it done, right? Having that pressure on the front side was huge. They got a pick out of it as well. So just finding that kind of ability that they weren't really getting done on Oregon. And I think another thing as well is they're going much more direct, right? They're not really clearing the map, and I think they're playing around that, right? Like on Oregon, we saw them not clearing the map and then struggle to deal with the players that they weren't clearing, right? And on this map, you saw they had the Solus upstairs. They threw down a couple of gridlocks, and they still had someone watching the flank deep and really making that player not a non-factor at all. So being able to kind of make that adjustment, be like, okay, we're still not going to clear the map, but we have to find a way to, keep those players that we're not clearing as non-factors will be better. And here we are, making that happen. And that's a huge thing to be able to have. A big difference.
Yep, nope, true. Kellerbex has already picked up a kill here, actually. Good effort there right at the start. Takes Chocoberry out, too, because that is a valuable pickup. Looks like the Bana did get one X-Kairos off, or a set of X-Kairos off before they got brought down, but not ideal. And that, I think, is going to make it a little bit harder here for the members of the Falcons to take the control they're looking for, but they will get the garage breach again, and look at that. A point-blank engagement here. Julian's Rumglass picks up the kill. Canadian cannot get the second one, is forced to fall back, but still not a bad way to start it all. 5-2 on the count, and the two members of Windsor Esports split by a pretty significant amount here. They are not going to come back in support of each other. It's simply not possible.
It is not. But I think that's, I guess, a good adjustment made, right? I mean, they got the wall open, but who even cares? You're challenging a sniper, right? That guy misses one shot. He's dead. Ends up taking the fight, finds a couple of kills, and it's good to have, right? And this round basically is good as over, and a 2-2 so far, not necessarily the worst thing, right? You get to go back to a defender site that you have previously won, and hold on a minute. It's a couple of kills for Augie still. A lot of work to be done. A lot of players to clear. Another gunfight coming through, not able to take him down. No Name getting real antsy here and does find the kill. A little lack of discipline, but that's okay. Found the kill at the end of the day. Was able to get it done. And Windsor ties us up at 2.
At least they're keeping things level here, right, on the attack, and that's the important thing, or on the defense, I should say, and that's the important thing for Windsor. They're not letting a gap open up between them and the Falcons, so they run it back, they keep it even, and they're able to just kind of keep chugging forward, and that's something that, the Falcons could not do on the previous map, and that's kind of why UWIN Esports was able to run away with it, but, if the pattern continues, the Falcons go up, they go down. When Esports goes up, goes down. We'll end with a 3-3 half. Nothing to be ashamed of on that in regards to Chalet, which does sort of fluctuate in the sort of shadowy borderlands between attacker and defender sided. Looking at this defensive setup, it's similar to what they ran last time. You actually got that critical shield position there of Bucket Hat, though, who just continues to hold that spot. Now, if I was on the drones of the Falcons and I somehow picked that one up, Joe, I think my initial reaction would be to immediately swap. You can't swap over to the Flores, I guess, so you're going to have to maybe swap over to one of the grenade operators or Zofia, somebody who could allow you to more effectively handle that shield spot. Because, yes, even though there is an ADS up there, the fact that they've allowed sort of library hallway corridor control without the shield there gives you some decent room to work with in order to avoid that ADS and actually take that shield down.
I just think there's a lot of things they could do, right? I mean, that's obviously one of the things you can do and a very easy way to do it, right? But I just think there's so many things that they could do, including, by the way, go for solar. There is no pressure downstairs. There's nothing downstairs. This entire setup is made for only a library take. And they're pushing right into it. Right? I think they're pushing into exactly what the defenders want them to, and I think that's a huge problem, at least on my end of things.
Yeah, I think that's, a relatively accurate criticism as well. I think that it would honestly benefit Windsor to extend their holdout more, but I'm not going to demand that of them, right? They're doing what works for them. Good kill by Julian's Rumglass right there to take Sonar out. They're going to miss the OSA a little bit, I think, in their expected attack pattern. But, I mean, one of the critical aspects of attacking on this map is that you do divest whoever this is up here. The Frost is, holding this position behind the fireplace tower, sort of. You've got to get them out of that spot. Jawbreaker is given a gift right there by the fact that Julian's Rumgas swings into the site and he can take them down. And that opens up a lot of room now for the members of the University of Windsor to play with. Augie coming in low on Bar Games is going to get the freest kill of his entire Siege career there on Skill Monkey, who was much more focused on the balcony than what was going on elsewhere. And now El Corbec, I'll never be able to get that one completely correct, is in a vicious gunfight here to stave off the approach up the library corridor.
And that's a lot of space now for the Falcons to have here. They have everything done. You're right, maybe if they had a little bit more of an extension, it would help them out. As No Name does find one, but unfortunately Augie is going to trade one back, and Jawbreaker now finds one as well. A 3v1 all down to Bucket Hat, who has not been as impactful as Oregon was. 14-2 on Oregon, and so far just 2-2 through these 4 rounds that have been played, and now going to get spotted out. The attackers know exactly where this player is. Going to have an opportunity to take a fight, not able to find the kill, and it's going to be a very good one. Bomb go down. Bucket Hat does find the first kill. Going to be able to get Jawbreaker off of the plant with the Echo Drone. I don't think the attacker is going to be able to get him off the plant. Knows where the bomb is going down, and Bucket Hat still in a 2v1. Gonna have to try and find at least one of the kills, but gonna let them slip. Gonna, allow a reposition from a Thermite, but the Thermite's staying strong. Not gonna want to move at all, and they still have the information on this player still being here. Gonna stun it out. Doesn't know where this other player is. Not able to find the kill though. Jawbreaker closes out the round. Maybe not the best way possible to play that, but either way, the attackers closing out the round, and 3-2 up. A much better performance on this map than Oregon, and that needs to be said.
Yeah, kill's a kill. Genuinely, that's how that works. And it's a situation, actually, we saw a bit of a repeat right there, Joe, in what was happening. You've got basically that 2v1 spot where Bucket Hat, though, is just stuck right on the Echo, can't, get around and come back in on it. And once, like we said last time, a perfect illustration of what we were talking about, once the initial plant is down, the Echo's value, basically becomes a gun at that point in time. Like, you saw him try and use the stun to set up a push right there. But even if he had succeeded in taking down the Thermite and Jawbreaker, he would have had a huge challenge, I think, on dealing with the long sightline that was covering that plant as well. And I've got to give major credit there to the Falcons for adapting to the loss of their OSA, which would have made that entire plant setup much easier, and just kind of powering forward through it and successfully completing that, right? 100%. Anyway, ignoring that previous round, we're on to round 6 now, and UWIN Esports is in danger of getting 4-2'd here on their defensive half. Again, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but there's no situation in which you would not realistically, it's a very John Madden-esque truism, but there's no situation here in which you would not prefer walking out of this with a 3-3.
3-3 would be nice, right? It's not even that bad, right? A 3-3 defender split. Not the worst thing in the world on Chalet. Honestly, pretty standard for the most part, if I'd like to say so myself. And we are going to see Kitchen, I think the first time on this map so far that we're going to see Windsor go to Kitchen. So that'll be pretty good today. Could you go back to Kitchen, please? Por favor. Just, nothing crazy. They reinforced the wall.
Hey, there he is,
man.
Skill Monkey.
Come on, man. We got to be setting up the site properly. It's all good. Who needs to set up site properly when you have Skill Monkey on the Solus finding freebies like that onto the Ash? Skill Monkey with the Solus. Bringing it out already and seeing these drones. And you made this comment before. Must be reiterated. The information that you can really get on a Solus with those electronics can really help the defenders see that it can really help the defenders see what the attackers are planning on doing. And I think that's a great thing to have as they find a second kill. And it's also hard, right? Especially from our... You really see how much information the Solus is bringing out. And no.
Let's see what Boogie can do. Looking out.
Not again.
Skin? Skin that time? I wouldn't say it was a skin. Sonar here in Master Bedroom getting shot from both sides, somehow alive. I think he was actually getting shot for a second by Augie, his own teammate, which is not the expected outcome in that situation. Augie is still very much alive, by the way, and actually does still have, what is it, the buggy or whatever left in the pocket that they could use to essentially make that kitchen close to untenable if they really wanted to, but they're holding off on it for a reason. I'm not entirely sure exactly what the plan is. Julian's rum glass, by the way, creeping up the stairs here on Solarium, Joe, and that's a big problem. This is basically a dagger poised in the back here of the members of the Falcons. Skill Monkey's going to try a similar trick on the other direction, and they're sort of running out of options there as Julian Rumglass does get the kill on the Sonar, but is brought down by Chocoberry on the other side, so at least they'll keep it even at a 2-2.
30 seconds. Convert that they would ever need. And, oh no. That's got to be a skin thing. That's all good. Doesn't matter. It's just a skin thing. Probably. Hopefully. Hate to see too much of an extension here, but okay. There's only 10 seconds left on the clock. They have the Echo Drone to work with and the Solus. Side hatch going to be dropped and all the information ever needed, but no! Bucket Hat sitting in the middle of the doorway, and the bomb's going to end up going down. Skill Monkey retakes up top, but a disaster from the defenders. As Skill Monkey does find it, does set it down to a 1v1, and it's all down to Chocoberry. And maybe the information might not be there, but Skill Monkey must have some sort of an idea of where this player is as the long arm's going to come through. And maybe bait out at least a couple of shots from the Nomad. Now knows the positioning of this player. Gonna start swinging out, put some shots in, not gonna find it, does! Clutch out the round, Skill Monkey! After a very, very scary, really, I guess events, they end up still coming out with the round. Wow.
Good save. Good save, honestly. I mean, there's not much more that really I think you can say about it that you haven't already said. I mean, great effort right there to get back on the ball and basically hold it together for University of Windsor. That was one that they, I think, desperately needed to win as well. And it looks like we are going to take a pause here, requested by the members of the University of Windsor. Maybe some connectivity issues going into motion right there. The Falcons now swapping over to the defense, and this is time that they make a bit of a stand here, Joe, as they start looking at their operators here. You got the Valkyrie coming out, Wamai in it, Malusi, all decent picks, and Amira as well, who has been available, I would say, for most of this time.
Yeah, and I think the Mira can be very powerful, but I feel like not as much on this site, unless you want to use it to help yourself extend over to the library side, right? There are a couple mirrors on this map that can be super, super powerful, and one specifically that I could note is that one on Mez facing into library. Right at the top of those main stairs. That is a huge, huge spot for Amira to be. Can make taking library a very, very difficult thing. And I expect them to do that, to try and help that, or at least aid their extension. Also having the Valk, the Walden Isle, I like it. I like the lineups thus far. I do.
Yeah, I agree as well. This is a decent defensive setup here. And, you know, the Falcons, they struggled mightily on the defense on Oregon, right? So this is the side where I think more than any other, I think that they need to make up some lost grounds here, right? Like that's what we're looking at as we take a look at that lineup. But it is going to cut back to us here for a second. I think they're doing some swapping of skins right there because it's been a consistent issue that they do not have the league approved skins, Joe. And hey, every once in a while that does happen. So get in there, make your changes, and we can hopefully get back to the attacking round. And we'll see. I mean, if they can keep their hopes alive here on the side of Concordia, I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility, if I'm being honest.
No, it's definitely not outside of the realm of possibility. I think a 3-3 is pretty, it's standard for the most part. But I mean, you know what? I'm kind of going back to the skins. I feel like just for us, they should really put in just one button, just like skins, just one button, right?
Yeah.
Just take them off,
Yeah.
put them back on. Little
Like a default
switch.
mode, skins disabled.
Or if you don't want to see the skins, it could just be client side.
Yeah. I think that is a feature in some other games, but we won't get too into that. I feel like Overwatch has that as a feature. I remember from my days when I was scrimming Overwatch, I'm pretty sure you can turn skins off. But, oh, well, that's not the case here. So an opportunity to go ahead and get in there and make some changes. But, looking at the way Concordia has been playing here on this map, they have, I think, stepped to the plate a little bit in the way that they've been doing this, right? They've got a couple of good kind of plant executes down. We mentioned earlier they feel more comfortable on Chalet. They look more comfortable in the way that they're playing, and I assume that some of that comfort is going to transfer over to the defense. And we talked about the Mira pick a little bit and how that was an interesting choice for them to make as well when push comes to shove. I am genuinely curious if we look over on the attacking side and we look at what's coming out from their opponents, whether or not the sort of, I don't know what the right word is for it necessarily. It's just felt a little unsteady, right, from the other side. We'll see if that kind of persists here when they go over to the attack.
Yeah, and I think, at least from what I'm seeing from the defenders, point of view, right, they have these powerful operators. I think when you are on this attacking side, the one thing that they really need to be considerate of and really look forward to is don't push the utility. Don't push them. I'm looking at you guys. Don't push the utility. Don't do it. If you see a Mira on the library wall, don't push library. Go the other way. Don't do it. Because I think, especially on this map, with the way that these two teams are playing, they're not looking at the entirety of the map. They are just looking at one specific area. I think that has been my main problem with how these two teams have been attacking. Obviously, for Windsor, they haven't really needed to, change their ways. But at least now they kind of need to start looking in that direction. And I think it's if there is a problem with the direction that they're pushing, if they're looking at library and be like, okay, this is a problem, they need to switch their push. They need to be more dynamic in their attacks, flexible, because especially on a map like Chalet, if you're just going to try and sit there for 2 minutes burning a utility, trying to find those kills, it's not an easy thing to do. So that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm seeing. But, you never know. You never know what they're going to do or what their comfort zones are. I can only speculate from my experiences. So we'll see how it plays out.
Back on the grind we go, getting started here on round number 7. The side swap just coming in. The Falcons taking over on the defense with that Valkyrie in play now. They're sticking with the Mira here as well. And taking a look over on the side of Windsor Esports, they are actually bringing Ascends to the fight. An interesting choice, Joe.
On this site, yeah, very interesting. I think, obviously, on a site like Kitchen, not bad, right? You just throw it through the drone hole. Cuts off the entirety of site, right? This one, I'm struggling to think about where it's going to come through, right? I'm a little worried, but it's looking like, I don't know what it's looking like. I can't really tell where the push is coming through quite yet, but it doesn't matter, right? It's pressure all over the map, and it's a term that I like using, and I know a lot of people may be unfamiliar with, and maybe are familiar with, is phantom pressure. Opening up all these sections of the map can make it very, very difficult for the defenders to really understand what the heck is going on. Because we do see a solar take. They're going to start trying to take it down below. And bringing the OSA for this. I like this, Corbec, because you can open the window so nobody can peek it. I like that. Play those windows for free.
It's a good plan. It is genuinely a good plan. Whether it's exactly how they're going to use it or not, they've already put one down. I didn't see if they planted it on the window or not, but the library position being held sort of tentatively by a Wamai, you usually want to give him a shield to make his life a little bit easier, and they did indeed use the OSA shield in that manner, so good on them. And so Wamai now has to play this as cautiously as possible, because one of his sort of lifelines has been cut off, for lack of a better word. And slowly but surely, the entry becoming more and more obvious here for the members of University of Windsor, who will close down on Stepbro and get the kill. Bucket Hat, though, the one who collects it. And now I think they're in a position where they could probably start making a more direct assault onto the bomb side that they've been looking for, which appears to be, I think, B, maybe? That said, Jawbreaker, unmarked on below, and we'll go ahead and swing and get a kill, and that is just a bit of bad news the other direction here for the attackers.
And I would like them to stand on top of the case in the Ivy Hall and peek the window. I'm begging. That Osa Shield does not stop the top side of the window. It just restricts the angles that they can do, and that Sen's going to come out. That's actually the execute now coming through, and I'm not sure that he got it all the way through for the head holes, but it shouldn't matter. As he's now in through the site, the bomb is now going to start going down. A C4 completely missed. And
Need to protect the diffuser.
that is a post fight that's going to be insanely difficult to win, as there is a player on the solar window. He's going to hop in, though! For some reason. This is going to be a big kill, but it's not going to matter. All these players are going to start going down one by one, and Windsor, now that is a great attack, pushing away from the hold. And it goes well for them as they find their opening attack and show why the attacker's side is the easier side on this map.
Yeah, 100%. Good example of that, I think, in practice. And the Falcons, we wondered if they were going to be able to come back on it on the defensive side. And that is the big question, I think, that still remains to be answered. I mean, the initial setup on the defense looked pretty solid, but they just lost, I felt like, a lot of ground very quickly. A couple of good shutdowns as well. You look over to what happened to Stepbro, for example, and it was not a particularly nice setup right there in terms of how they got pinched. So some changes probably need to come here to Concordia University of Wisconsin if they want to get some wins in the bucket. Let's see what they do a little bit differently on this side. Still going in on the mirror, by the way, of Sonar, just bringing it to the basement. And in this setup, they are really not going to try and deny the breach there on the garage door, which is always an interesting prospect in and of itself.
It's a big thing, right? You know what's also been very interesting to me? How much gridlock has come out. You never see gridlock anymore. And I just think it's because there's better alternatives, right? I think that's the one thing, and I'm liking the usage from it. But my only problem is you have 3 operators on the attackers that have EMPs now. That's my one thing. And do you know how many nades they have?
No, how many?
If you look and do our math on the left side of your screen, ladies and gentlemen, it seems that there are 7 EMPs and 0 nades. Tough. Bring nades. Message to you guys. Message to Windsor. If you go back and watch this VOD, bring nades. Your lack of nades is making me angry. Nades are powerful and cool. Bring them. Thank you for your time. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, it is definitely something that they could benefit from, right? Just having some grenades in the pocket. Good kill early on there by Augie to get Julian's rum glass down. That'll take the Capitao out of contention early on, which not only removes the top fragger, but also removes the utility. What that does, however, allow is for the other members of the University of Windsor to push up, and Bucket Hat picking up 1, picks up a 2nd. Finishes off Augie on the tail end of that deadly double stinger right there, and this is becoming incredibly problematic here for the members of the Falcon as once more the brute force effort of the University of Windsor coming through. Corbec picks up 1 more on the top, and this is just collapsing here for the University of Concordia. Sonar trying to hold it together. Good nitrocell over the top, but no kill will come of that. And Sonar playing a very difficult position back and forth here as Bucket Hat, though, gets 1 more kill. Good kill by Sonar, but still the 3v1. Is it winnable? The 2v1. Is it winnable? Sonar trapped in the smoke right now versus Skill Monkey and Corbec here. Corbec on the top floor holding down a tight angle there, Joe, but a definite chess match now between the 2 sides.
And no real utility for either of these players to do much of anything, right? No flashes, no nades, no nothing. They don't really have anything to work with as Sonar now going to take a little bit of damage trying to take a fight. But these players kind of stacked up, right? They're going to be coming from the exact same direction. I'm pretty sure Sonar has a very good gauge of that. But the Osa now going to walk in and start walking at them. They're going to start making this push happen. But Sonar finds the kill as Skill Monkey just walking in and by himself. just on their own. The gridlock completely out of the fight, and it's a 1v1. The position has got to be known here. You've got to know that this Mira is on the shield, and Sonar has it all. A special 1v4 right here if he's able to pull it off. And the gridlock has to walk through. Able to walk through. Sonar not able to find the kill. The gridlock running at him. Sonar puts all the bullets in. Not able to find the kill. Down to 1 HP. The gridlock gonna push it. But Sonar finds the kill. And a big 1v4 to tie up the game and keep them right on in it. Sonar, what a play, young man.
Sonar holding it together there under extreme pressure. I mean, it converted that from was it a 3v1 or a 4v1 there when all went the way it was? Huge plays coming out from the anchor play of the Mira. You really can't ask for anything more, and that's got to frustrate Windsor Esports just a little bit, because I don't think, honestly, that was one that they felt like they should lose. And in a realistic world, you definitely shouldn't be losing that, but a huge individual play right there carrying Concordia through. The only unfortunate thing I will say about it, Joes, is only for tying the score back up. It wasn't for like the map win or whatever. You still have to pull ahead here on the University of Windsor, but at least you've given yourselves a little bit of an additional lifeline.
Well, Corbec, I have something for you. Guess what? That's what I'm gonna say.
What?
If they had nades that round,
You're right.
You think he's able to play on pillar?
Nope, not at all. Yeah, you're right, actually. It would have made a huge difference if they had nades. If they could have just thrown a nade in that corner, that would have ended that whole fight. Yeah.
Weird. I don't know. It's just a thought. Nothing crazy.
5 seconds left.
That's okay. Hindsight. They still don't have nades, though.
Attackers are
You would have thought they
moving out to
learned.
locate a bomb and defuse it.
You would have. That's okay. They'll go back to the tried and true. Just use the guns. The guns never fail, or except when they do. But that's okay. New jammers going down here for the Falcons as they set up their defensive setup. That was a redundant way to say that. Sonar back on the Mira, and honestly, can't blame him. And a huge miss drone on Step Row to start us off. Good catch, Observer. They completely missed Step Row, and they missed him a second time as well.
Oh. I hope that's a fake misdrawn. I hope they did find him. They had to have seen him there.
They had to have seen him there. There's no way now. They must know.
They gotta know, right? No, brother. No.
There's no way. Oh, no.
Reload.
Oh, no. Done.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. For a minute there. I thought it happened, but Julian's run glass making it work. Look at him, 11-6 this map. Really got hot towards the second half of Oregon and keeping that momentum rolling over on this map too. Really been the bright spot for this team outside of Bucket Hat, but after that first map, I feel like that was expected, right? I mean, who goes 14-2 and then doesn't have an impact on the next map? And we've seen that impact come through. Unfortunately, not going to be able to do anything this round. Again, another pick. Chocoberry finds another one, gives the Falcons an advantage for probably the first time in this entire series. They are on the front foot. Corbec, here we go, a big round.
A big round indeed, and one that, the Falcons, I think, could seal relatively easily. I mean, there's about a minute and change left here. Canadian playing off of the double window in Solarium. That's not a spectacular position, all things considered, and I doubt that he'll be holding it there for much longer. Walking into the gun side of Jawbreaker was Julian's run glass, so the Sens, whatever value they were going to provide is not going to be a factor here. Skill Monkey with a good angle of their own, but I don't think anybody on the side of the Falcons is going to give that kill away by walking into it.
Oh, and he missed his chance to hop in. Skill Monkey had plenty of time to be able to make this play earlier, but unfortunately not going to happen now, as he's going to get shot from behind as well. And the Falcons, with their first lead in the entirety of this series thus far. A big moment as they are building off that momentum off the clutch from Sonar the previous round, give themselves a lead on Chalet, and here we go, Corbec. We have a game now. We have a series now.
We do have a series, let's be honest. Falcons swinging right back into this, and you've got to wonder if you're on the side of Windsor, is this frustrating for you? I mean, it's a mental crack right here. I don't think it necessarily is. I think it's something that you can pretty much walk back in if you want it, but certainly there's got to be a little bit of a question being asked on their side. By the way, love bringing a Ram for this site. I think it's a really good usage of that particular operator, the kind of situation that they thrive in. But I will say, I think it was it the Falcons who attacked this last time, or was it UWIN? I'd have to go back and check my notes.
Falcons.
But they had a Ram as well, and they got very little value out of it because they just kind of didn't use it in the critical areas. So something to keep track of right there. We'll see how Julian's Rumglass, who does, I think, have the highest kills in the lobby, will sort of take that to account. The Falcons, by the way, playing a relatively standard defensive setup. I don't think there's a ton that needs to be commented on there. They did bring the Legion into the rotation, which I think is a good choice overall. Might help slow down even more the University of Windsor Esports attack, and that's probably what they're looking for. A little bit of a sound cue warning as well, if you play them right. Good intel gathering being set up by the Falcons here.
Yeah, and I think that the audio is something that is to be noted, right? That is a very big thing with RAM that I don't think a lot of people exactly think about, right? It's the same thing with Fuse. These operators are so loud with their utility, but that kind of audio can mask the audio of other things, as footsteps, nades ripped, anything like that, and that can really allow an attacker to kind of mask the play and deny the information of that sound. So we'll see if that's kind of something that, you know, Windsor decides to end up utilizing, I guess, with this RAM, or maybe not. You know, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's an opportunity for the attackers to really utilize an operator in a way that maybe it wasn't exactly part of its primary design, right? And I think that's, you know, a creative thing that certain teams can do. So we'll see if, you know, if they do decide to do that. But this is a big round. I think this is one of those times in a game where, you know, the momentum is not on your side, and you still have the opportunity. You still look like the better team for the most part of this game, but you've got to find a round to get that momentum and confidence back for your team. Because at this moment in time, it's not been there. Because that 1v4, not easy one to get rid of, and this round so far, not too much progress made either.
Great RAM usage. That's what we were talking about. Look at how much verticality is being opened up right there by the drone. Going to make life very difficult for anyone who holds the backside of that point. And the only thing I will say, going to make it a little bit difficult for the entry there as well. It's unfortunate, but if you got a player underneath who knows what they're doing, they can actually play those angles relatively well. Don't want to gloss over the fact, by the way, that Chocoberry picks up a kill. Jawbreaker picking up another one. That's Julian's Rumglass who's down. So, drone points are rendered mute. Or moot, perhaps is a better word to say. Skill Monkey here with the frag grenade out, throws it sort of searchingly. Chocoberry's just going to swing on that at point-blank range. Go for it, man. You pick up a kill. He'll get another one here as well. A triple kill for Chocoberry. They're not even droning him out. He's just playing the piano position, free and clear.
Did we just forget that he was there? Like, he was there. He got a kill earlier. Oh, that's tough. That's agonizing. Now you're really seeing where this, you're really starting to see where the momentum is lying right now, as the Falcons from Concordia University are absolutely soaring at the moment. Caw. That's what a falcon makes. That's how a falcon sounds, right?
I don't even. I think the falcon like shrieks. Big old cry. I don't know. It's
actually about to look it up
now.
Not
my wheelhouse, I must admit. Or orthonoptery. I don't know what the right word is for studying birds, but
I can't do that.
Not my wheelhouse.
I just played the sound. I can't play it. I can't do that with my mouth.
No, I was gonna say I think you're gonna struggle.
Yeah, not designed for that.
to get that one off. But you know, okay, University of Windsor 4-6. This is not insurmountable, but if you don't pick up the next one, obviously you're out. I think in this round you have to keep in mind that you can still win this, Joe. I think this is still winnable. Yeah, it's gonna be a little difficult. Yeah, you got to kind of play on the razor's edge here, but there's no reason for me to say that you know, UWIN Esports is done and dusted right here. That is a interesting double Kaid claw setup on that point, but okay. If that works, I will also give credit, by the way, to the Falcons for sticking with this Mira pick and making it work. But it is worth remembering, Joe, when we were down here last time, it was the Mira of Sonar pulling off kind of a miracle play that kept this even remotely in contest, because the Falcons got a little roughed up in the early stages of that round.
Yeah, and my one concern with it as well is they have the roam set up, right? But I feel like they're just too disconnected from each other on the roam, and that is a crazy lapse of awareness right there. Lucky to be able to stay alive right there is the Wamai. I think kind of continuing my point is you have this roam set up, right? You have the hatch up and everything like that. But last time they didn't really hold the hatch and it was used against them. This time they have a second player up there to help out with the hold upstairs. But looking at Windsor, they don't really look like they're pushing this all too hard at the moment. Excuse me.
Sure if we've lost Joe right there. I hear him cutting in and out, but we'll pick up on the action as it goes right here. Hell Corbec. So no, Joe's good, but we'll let him have his piece in just a minute. Hell Corbec's here pushing forward into the jaws of the enemy defense. Gonna go ahead and throw the flash, probably trying to set up for an air jab, but it's Sonar with the nitro cell to get the first kill. Julian's rum glass fortunately equaling it back up with Stepper, but Chocoberry is in there as well. Awesome stuff as they keep it relatively even Stevens between these two teams. Good breach set up here though, and will we see a repeat of Sonar's desperate last stand down here in the wine room?
You know what they don't have again, Corbec?
What's that?
They don't have no goddamn nades! Clear out that one position on pillar that they are oh so struggling to clear. Because if they clear this, it's over. The round's done. They don't get to do anything else. It's all over and the information is there. They do know that there is a player flanking. It's going to be Chocoberry. Taking it right now. Not able to win the fight. It's Julian's rum glass on the Capitao. Able to find the kill. And now the flame does go out, but a little bit late. And the Mira is going to survive. It's going to be able to play on the tuck edge of the pillar. And that's going to be huge. No. Oh.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
Oh, and it's a 1v3 Julian's rum glass on this Capitao to try and make it happen. Hiding inside of the smoke as we speak. Does find the first kill. Gonna have to ace to win this round out. He's gonna start putting the bomb down. Actually does get the kill. He's on 4. He knows that the last player is somewhere over towards
5 seconds.
Connector knows where this player is, and he doesn't get it down. Oh no! So close to making it happen, but the Falcons able to send us to map 3. But a beautiful, beautiful effort for the Capitao of Julian's rum glass. Oh, so close.
What a way for it to end. The mutual kill ending. You don't see that very often. That's an odd duck right there.
But a loss.
Yeah, wild conclusion to Chalet right there. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. This match is just getting started. The decider, map 3, right after this break.
We're back. We're here. What are we here with? Map 3 of this Champions Cyan Division game between the Concordia University of Wisconsin Falcons and Windsor University Esports. We're looking at Clubhouse, Corbec. It's been a great series so far. You know, map 1, not so close. Map 2, pretty close. Each team taking one of the maps. And now we're on Clubhouse to decide it all.
Yeah, when it boiled back to the simpler map, though, of Oregon, it did not go so well for the members of lost them for a second. It did not go so well for them when they were playing this, Oregon side. I mean, University of Windsor seemed to thrive, right, in the basic environment. That was something that they really seemed to excel at. Chalet, things got a little bit more complicated in the University of Windsor. They didn't outright fall apart or anything. It's not like we just saw them get absolutely blasted right on the last map, but certainly a more difficult stretch, and they did lose it. So there is that. By the way, we should give credit. Technically, it was an ace at the end of the round. I feel like we kind of didn't acknowledge that because the round was such a weird way to end. Technically, it was an ace, but you still lose, which is the worst kind of ace to get. But hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles here. But yeah, going back to Clubhouse, I just don't know if that's something that Windsor is really going to be able to capitalize on.
Yeah, and I think the problem is, it's like, it's hard to see where we're at, right? Because Windsor does not have the momentum at all. I mean, for anyone who saw the ending of map 2, those last like 3-4 rounds, that is not ideal. It's not an ideal way to lose a map, right? It just, back to back to back to back. So, the momentum's not on their side. But if Clubhouse is to be compared to any other map in the pool, Oregon is probably the closest thing to it. And Windsor dominated Concordia on that map. So it's a weird spot to be in. It's very hard because it's like, if you look at it from a map perspective, this on paper should really be going towards Windsor. But with how this series is starting to play out and how these two teams are playing at this very moment in time, to this very second, you got to look at the Falcons and say, hey, they're playing now. They're hot. So it's very hard. This map, at least the way that I see it, could go either way. As we do see a Jackal ban again, which is kind of weird on this map too.
They really do like people do like banning Jackal, which is funny because he's not, even he's fine. He's not that strong. There's definitely operators who I think are far more annoying on the attacker's side you can get rid of, but it's okay. I said it before, I'll say it again. He's an operator. You are never unhappy to see him gone because you don't have to deal with him. So that's fine. But 6 rounds now with the University of Windsor starting on the defensive side here, Joe. And I think that stands to reason that it's a huge advantage in their column. Clubhouse remains a very defender-sided map, all things considered. Despite the site rotation changing a little bit, Cash kind of falling out of favor in favor of Gym Bedroom instead on the second floor, still super defender oriented.
It is. But you know who's up again and being used? Solus. It is up.
Capital?
It's a little weird, right? At least from what I'm seeing with the Falcons and Solus being up. These teams, they're not necessarily playing around the information that they have very well. I think what needs to be known, right, and a lot of people do know this, the meta for the most part right now is very heavy TDM meta, right? Areas, isolating picks, and just swinging. That's what the information is so good for, because you have this info from the Solus, info from the Valkyrie, like, oh, there's a guy right here. Swing this guy. Like, kill this guy, like that. That is something that really comes in handy in this meta. You find those opportunities to ISO picks. And
5 seconds left.
Neither team has really tried to do that too much and have tried to take their opportunities and go to really ISO their pick. And when I mean ISO pick is isolating picks. It's
right.
Just finding an opportunity to get a free kill and take it. And neither team's really pushed the pace quite yet. And I think on a map like Clubhouse, where it can really kind of get into those direct kind of areas, you're going to really have to take those opportunities to ISO these picks, whether you're on the attack side, whether you're on the defender side. Either way, you got to take those fights, win them out, and see what you can do from there.
Yeah, I agree. It's something that I think we saw more out of University of Windsor around kind of round 1, map 1. They were a lot more aggressive. But Augie picking up a big kill right there, punishing the University of Windsor for their aggression, playing off the window that the sledge destroyed. That's a bit of a rough start here for the defense. And University of Windsor, they should not be making those kind of mistakes, because we know that they can do better than that. Like, genuinely, we know that they can do better than giving away what I would essentially call sort of silly kills. Which that's what that is. There's no other word for it. Julian's Rumglass here playing around that window as well. It's a very vulnerable position to have to play in. I appreciate as well that they've sort of orchestrated an extension here, Joe, but there's not a lot backing this extension up. Canadian No Name, essentially because of the open windows, is now forced to the corner of Cash, right, where this is basically do or die for the mute player here. There is no escape from this position, and well, there you go. He does, but he also dies in the 3-4 now for the defenders.
And does take down a hard breach player with him, and that's not the worst thing I've ever seen in the world, but still, Windsor in a man disadvantage, but they're just gonna hop right in the gym. Step bro, what are you doing? Just ends up getting taken down, and that is a great flame coming out. Now it's all down to Skill Monkey with the Solus, and gonna have a great idea of where the bomb's gonna go down. Gonna have to put it down on top of the master bed, but has yet to do so. And now Monkey knows that he's going to have to start pushing up and not going to know that this player is on the main stairs. Skill Monkey is taken down, and a great first attack from the Falcons, using that momentum that they gained from the first map, the second map, and putting that straight onto Club and taking their first lead on the attack side.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right there. Skill Monkey kind of looking anticipatorily up the stairs, got caught out. Not probably a winnable situation for Skill Monkey, to be fair. That would be a really hard one to battle back on. But what are the University of Windsor esports team, like, what do they learn from that entire encounter? And I think the thing that they learn here after that round number one is that they have to be careful about how they're playing their defense, right? Like, you cannot, here in map 3, when you had such a strong outing on round number one, you cannot get loosey-goosey about this. Like, you really have to fight through your instincts, which, hey, it's been, almost 2 maps of Siege. It's been pretty intense. You're probably a little tired. You have to maintain concentration. You can't be giving up silly picks like standing by a window that's been opened up or something, right? Like, you just cannot be doing that. In this situation. So the University of Windsor, we know that they can recover. Like, Windsor definitely has it within them. It's just they need to tighten up their defense a little bit, because you're just giving away kills and stuff like that.
Well said. Well said. I don't think there's a better way you could have put it, right, than the just giving away kills for free. It's not like they're, like I said, trying to take those opportunities to take gunfights. It's not even a gunfight. They're just putting themselves in bad positions and dying without really even getting an opportunity to fight back. And that's a problem, to just give away picks like that. You're making your life harder really on the defense. And 100%, I 100% agree. We're going to have to see them at least try and change maybe the philosophy. They're deciding to go for these picks and how they're deciding to try and get this man advantage. Because right now, the way that they're trying to get it done right now, it's not working for them.
Good intel gathering here from Skill Monkey. Picks up the drone and the phone using it, so should have a pretty good idea that they are looking to at least tentatively push into the top floor area around Cash. I mean, we should sort of expect that at this point in time, but it's always good to have a confirmation. Jawbreaker picking up the first kill, but there's Skill Monkey, as previously mentioned, jumping back in, and they will catch Chocoberry on the top floor as they were trying to enter. You guessed it. Cash, Skill Monkey rotating down over to Secret, has already, I think, effectively done a lot of their job, but Augie not giving him a moment to rest on their laurels, instead comes right back in and gets the kill onto Julian's rum glass and turns it into a 4v3. Also, I think moving into a position that can set up that ramp to do some serious soft destruction, which is only going to cause problems here for the members of the University of Windsor.
Yeah, and this RAM is really just going to show how strong it can be, right? The C4s not going to do anything. I mean, there aren't any C4s left on the board, but they really, with just 2 drones, open up the entirety of half of Armory, and then the other side of it being open up the entirety of the Kitch Hall. That's a lot of vert really to be made with not a lot of work to be done. And the best part is you can peek the vert as it's being made. I think that's something that needs to be noted as well. But Skill Monkey again on the Solus finding another kill. And they do know that this player is over toward the Secret side, and everything's getting open. And Corbec actually almost gets taken down. Not able to. It does have the Doc Stim to get them back up. And see the Falcons start to open up more. See what they can do, where the pressure's going to come from. But Skill Monkey's still in a very, very worrying spot if you're a fan of the Falcons.
That's one way to put it, yeah. A difficult spot. Heller Corbec's coming now up underneath, trying to play off the hatch. Be very careful here, Augie. Honestly, this is not a safe position to be playing when you are not aware of the defender's positions in return. They can often see you before you can see them. Bucket Hat, though, holding the back staircase here as well. Now Skill Monkey stepping up, and sure enough, Heller Corbec's will get the kill onto Augie. Good swing in from Sonar. Sonar trying to repeat the magic from the last map, but cannot do it. Only gets the 1 kill before being brought down at the tail end of the round.
Corbec, you know what I think? I feel like this is going to be a banger of a map 3. I don't know. I feel like this one's going down to the wire. Just the way we've seen those first 2 rounds play out, I feel like this is going down to the wire. Might just be me. It's just a shot in the dark. Just an educated guess, a prediction, as we like to call it. Isn't that the definition of a prediction? Educated guess?
Yeah, I guess.
I'm trying to remember if I remember that.
Close enough.
Just had to make sure I remembered that correctly. But I think this is looking very, very even right now. My one problem with the way that Windsor is playing is they are relying very, very heavily on Skill Monkey to get a lot of value out of the Solus. And it's not the worst thing in the world, right? The Solus is super, super powerful, but the rest of the 4 players need to try and find a way to be as impactful as that Solus, right? Play around what the Solus is doing, because the Solus information is very, very strong, and the plays that the Solus is making is great, but it's all solo, right? The flank, solo. The information with the droning, solo. They have to try and find a way to put it together as a team to make sure that all 5 of them are using that information to the best of their abilities, position themselves accordingly, and find the kills that they need to using that.
And that's kind of been the issue throughout, right? Has been the consistency of the teamwork. And there's definitely been rounds where the Falcons have showed that, and there have been rounds where it's just not been on display at all. I think the latter round is one of those rounds where they were just very disjointed in how they approached everything. And obviously, like, the University of Windsor is going to capitalize on that, right? 100%. As much as we want to, like, harangue them for not bringing frag grenades or, you know, this, that, or the other thing, they're still a very competent team. And I would say, on balance, have looked kind of the better team throughout this matchup up until about the last round of this match, or round number 1, I would say, of this map, where things got a little off count, but that's okay. I mean, they're right back onto it. So Chocoberry here on the highway, going to go ahead and play this exactly how they played it last time. And remember, it was one of the defenders of University of Windsor Esports who stepped up to the window and got smoked. That sort of precipitated kind of a series of spiraling events here for the defensive side. Hopefully they will avoid making that same mistake again.
See if they do. Hopefully they don't, right? We don't like seeing mistakes twice. And oh my goodness. That was some Matrix level stuff right there. Matrix level stuff to avoid death. But all players involved are still alive. Some HP taken out, but still, everyone's alive. And see the Falcons once again taking control of this side of the map. And the way that they're holding cash, right, is you can prone and shoot that. That's okay. Who needs that?
Oh, Sonar right on the other side of this wall. Look at that. Throws the ace charge out. The Selma getting caught by the mute jammer there, spoiling the surprise. Canadian no name, though, man. He's got 6 different directions to look here. So he's going to fall back, runs past the open wall there as well, just adding a little bit of danger to the overall retreat. But still a 5-5 here, Joe, with about a minute and change left on the clock. And it's been a good defensive performance, honestly, for the members of Windsor. They've held back the Falcons this long. It's going to force them into a late stage execute, and there are still positions like Skill Monkey down here next to Pool. That's not been cleared yet. That is still a very viable threat.
There are only 2 places in the entirety of this site that you can actually put the bomb down where the Solus can't get you. It's on top of that master bed and by this Logi rotate on Kegs. But that is all 3 site players going down. And the bomb is now going to start going down on top of that master bed, but it's not going to be able to be stopped. Skill Monkey not able to get it done. Sonar does get taken down, but not before the bomb goes down. Julian's rum glass does end up getting taken down. A nice shot from Skill Monkey, but still so much more work to be done and not able to do it. That is the Concordia Falcons getting another gym attack round. And fortunately for Windsor, they've got to figure out how to defend one of these top floor sites, because they're not going to be able to go to basement all for the rest of these 3 rounds.
Yeah, that's oof. I mean, that's not clearly not the site, right? We're gonna want to go other places, and yeah, CCTV cache. I think that's kind of an inevitability in this set of rotations. You're not going to take it down to bar, are you? And you're probably not going to go back to gym if you're being smart about it. The problem is, though, I was talking about how the site rotation has changed. CCTV, Joe, it's not what it used to be for a defender side. It's a lot more attacker favored now. It's sort of shifted as more operators have been added into the game, and the situation has kind of changed. And it can really be a bit of a death box if you get stuck right there in the B bomb site. And also, if you let them get the wall of B open, like actually open up the CCTV wall, effectively they have a brutal cutoff, right, of anybody who's been left out in garage. And, well, theoretically, you're always going to want to have at least one person out in garage to prevent them from pushing up there. So a lot of defensive dilemmas on display here on this particular bomb site.
A lot of dilemmas, but I think one thing that we can kind of see from this defense is that they're continuously trying to place information. For me, I love Bucket Hat. We did a very good first map, but the Echo might need to be retired. It might need to go. It just might. I'm not a fan of bringing Echo when you could bring a Valk to do the exact same thing. You have the Solus, so the plant denial is there. You don't need the Echo to get the plant off. The time is not going down to 10 seconds when this bomb is going down. There's no value coming from the Echo. Either bring a Valk or something else. There is more utility you can bring than that. Personal opinion.
It does seem to be a bit of a personal opinion. These tweets reflect only my view. It is sort of a comfort pick for them, though, and I can understand that. I mean, I said on last map, it's not that Echo's a bad operator. He's not. He's a perfectly fine roaming anchor option. There are probably better choices, but he can be used. It's just that multiple times when you saw the Echo brought, we ended up in situations that were unsalvageable because, it was an Echo and his utility value basically had dropped. But, hey, all that talk about that. Step Bro, the first kill here. That'll be Skill Monkey who finds a good play on the Solus right there. And I think that might have kind of taken the legs out from underneath the attack because he was the Thatcher. And I'm not sure how they're going to get this wall open now. Skill Monkey finds another. He's got Augie this time, so they lose their second attacker. Sonar finally puts a stop to it all, and it'll be Impact EMPs here to breach this wall and set up that aforementioned cutoff.
Yeah, it's still live and die by the Solus, isn't it? Making the play is Skill Monkey coming up huge so far in their defense, but Sonar on the other side of things finds a couple of kills himself. No Name does find Jawbreaker on the breach. That case is going to have to be retrieved at some point, but Sonar been huge for this Concordia Falcons team thus far and continues to go big as that shield is going to be very difficult to deal with. No smokes to deal with it. Nothing to destroy it. That is going to be a very hard spot for them to clear. It's really going to come down to Sonar to see if he can make a play on the other side of the map. And maybe, I don't know, hop through the sight window. Maybe go through con. Something is going to happen for them to be able to get through. Because walking through this breach with this shield here, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Chuckleberry doesn't have smokes. They have Impact EMP, so they can't even set it up, right? It's going to entirely rely on the ability of Sonar to push this in. Skill Monkey doing a little bit of scouting right there could potentially kill this dead if they take Sonar out, because then it's just a matter of time. But the timer probably going to be the bigger factor here. Canadian No Name holding hard onto the angle. Chuckleberry is running away in the opposite direction. There's only 15 seconds left in the round. Sonar's hunting for any side of the enemy in here. Barely sees him. Tries to rotate around the opposite direction. Chuckleberry is down. 7 seconds left on the clock, and that has got to be Goodnight Irene. Nothing to be done about it. Bucket Hat, though, coming in and collecting their first kill of the match right there to shut down the Concordia attack.
Yeah, and well done from them, but still, it's that same concern, right? The Solus is the make or break for this team. If Skill Monkey makes the play, they win the round. Those two gym rounds, he hasn't been able to make the play. They've lost both of them. You've got to figure out a way to win these rounds without requiring Skill Monkey to make a play. They would be up way bigger if that wasn't the case. That is my concern. I think it'll be the same thing on the attack, right? On their attack, you're not going to have a Solus to be able to walk and find the gaps and make the plays. They have to figure out a way to get everybody involved, not off the back of a play by a Solus.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, wins are getting the wins, right? And sometimes you could say, well, it doesn't really matter how you get them as long as you get them. But it is a lot of pressure to put on the back of Skill Monkey because it only takes one misstep on Skill Monkey's part and you're kind of back to square one right there in terms of your overall defensive efficacy. But that's okay. We're moving on to round number 5 now. The Falcons have been doing pretty good for themselves. I mean, I will say in general, last round, even though it was kind of rough towards the end, it wasn't the worst round that they've certainly had here tonight. And compared to their performance on the first map, they are keeping it tight, right? They're keeping it close. That's about what we want to see. Late site prep down there from the members of the University of Windsor. Not entirely surprising. It does sometimes be kind of the last thing that you want to do. Very curious to see how the Falcons are going to take this, by the way, because this is a very disparate starting pattern, a wide sweep of the map with two kind of roamers coming, or two, I should say, entry players coming in from opposite directions here on the top floor. Do not neglect to check garage. Skill Monkey's waiting right there. Skill Monkey doesn't confirm the kill.
Tough. It's so tough. Hopefully that's not going to come back to bite them. And so far, doesn't. Sonar, that is the Habana
Been located.
hitting the deck. Still a lot of hard breach to go. Still have a couple of can openers on the side of the buck. And you have one exothermic charge at least left for the thermite. But still, that is not the best spot to be. But Skill Monkey is going to run up the red stairs. Has a 1v1 to isolate. And that is what I'm talking about. The Soulless going to find that opportunity to isolate a pick. And that are the two can openers going down the buck, hitting the ground, and that is a big couple of kills to get for the defenders.
The attackers bombed the
Yeah, it's kind of broken, I think, a lot of the sort of menace of this attack. Augie, though, trying to prove me wrong, steps back in and gets the kill right there. And, I mean, there are still guns up here on the side of the Falcons. Work still to be done. Stepbro trying to play out of the dirt tunnel. Jawbreaker doing the droning right there for the Thatcher as Augie sweeps in on the other side, but Augie has to defeat one more individual before they can really open this up. Augie can't win it. Julian's rum glass too well entrenched in the position. Peeker's advantage does not save Augie in that situation.
No, it does not. And that was an opportunity to get them right on back into this round. And doubling up in dirt is not going to be the easiest thing to do. Jawbreaker does find one, maybe the consolation prize, but it's going to be a very difficult thing for him to be able to do. Going to have to deal with this two-way crossfire that's going on, and this is just watching this, it hurts, right? It's knowing that he has to swing into multiple bodies with information on him, that is a hard thing to do. Look at the angle from Helkerpex. He's not winning this, right? Can we say that?
Yeah, no, he's not winning this. Yeah,
it's not happening. It's not happening. That's tough.
Honestly, very good discipline on the side of the Knights to just hold spot right there, because what he was trying to do, if anybody is wondering or didn't immediately pick up on it, with those little peaks over towards Helkerbees that weren't even really peaks, he was trying to get them to commit to the swing from blue, the opposite side. That's why he would do like the little and then he would immediately swing back to the other side, because he was hoping that Helkerbees would call in the backup, right, the trade player, and he could pick off the trade player and then solely focus on Helkerbees. But they did not fall for that at all, just standing very firm in the face of that bit of gameplay. So credit to them on that, and just sort of eating that attack alive that round. And the progress that the Falcons have been making on previous rounds seems to sort of be grinding to a halt here, Joe, and that bodes poorly for them.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many
does,
bombs
but
as they can.
what I will say is with the way that these maps, or I should say the bans have gone, this isn't that defender-sided. You have a lot of very powerful operators up for the attack. Specifically, you got the Habana. That is a very large thing to have. And for the defenders, the Fenrir off the board, Yazami off the board. Two operators that makes things very, very difficult. And as long as you're the attackers and you're not allowing the Soulless or the Valk, the information game to really go crazy on you, you're getting everything open that you want as long as you have the map. The Habana, like whether they're impact tricking or not, it's getting open. You have the Thatcher, they can't cage trick. So if you want something open, it's going to get open. So I think that's one thing that makes it not as excited. But still, a 4-2 defender split would be great for Windsor to get, especially how they looked in the beginning of the couple rounds with how their gym defenses have looked. But they do have to win another gym defense. So, or not gym defense, sorry. They have to go to bar because they're not able to play gym.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, it would be good for the Falcons to get the 3-3 here. I do not think it is essential for the 3-3. Like, you can play off of 4-2 on Clubhouse, but you know, you got to be really good on the defense, especially when it comes to something like CCTV. The Falcons, can they do that? I mean, I think it's possible, but I don't think it's it's not going to be the easiest thing. Julian's Rum Glass calling him on a drone skin, apparently. I didn't even know that there were rules about drone skins, but okay.
Not allowed to use them.
Yeah, well, there, go figure.
Zilch. Nada.
Can't have the happy cat drone skin. What competitive advantage is the happy pink cat giving
Hey,
me?
man, it blends in.
Huh?
As that it blends in.
Get
Yeah,
outta
it blends
here.
in.
Blended. It's pink. Anyway, Chakavari picking up a kill on the top floor right there, setting up position with the sledge to battle down, right? I mean, this is a wild sight to play. We didn't really talk about it, but bar stage is not an easy defensive site by any stretch of the word. They're doing a good job holding on to it because Julian's Rum Glass is challenged by Jawbreaker, who whiffs the shots, and now it's a 4-2 in favor of the University of Windsor, 4-1.
You saw that guy, right? Yeah, he did. And Windsor find their tertiary win. Bar ends up going their way. A 4-2 split on the defense. Not too shabby, if you ask me. And maybe going to be taking off that drone skin, but it won't matter because they're on the defense now. But that's okay. Who cares? Who cares? Who needs it? Anyways, let's look more towards this attack. Windsor, on their attacks on Oregon, went 5-1. That's pretty, or 4-2. Sorry, my bad. 4-2 split. It's not too shabby, Corbec.
I mean, it's manageable. It's good for Windsor because they're going to have to come back in on the attack, and it will be harder. It's manageable on the side of the Falcons, like I was saying. This is not a death sentence. You can play out of this. The timeout, I think, is wise right here. Because it does give them a moment. I mean, I think it's inevitable. I said it was wise. I think it was inevitable as tech issues, but whatever. It's beneficial in the sense that it allows them to kind of prepare for the defensive side and how they want to play it and what they need to do. It's impossible for me to say exactly how they're going to play the defense, right? But they looked pretty solid on the Chalet defense. So if they can bring some of that over to this, I think that's going to stand them in good stead for being the ones who eventually push the score past the line.
Yeah, and I think it's very hard, right? Because we haven't really – it's hard to analyze, right? Because we haven't seen this side yet. Like, we haven't seen Windsor attack. We haven't seen the Falcons defend yet. So it's
Ooh.
Oh, okay, I'm good. It's okay. It's all on my back. I'm back. But it's hard for us to just sit here and be like, kind of say how this is going to go because we don't really have any information to work on. But if it's anything like Oregon – Windsor, they played the map brilliantly, right? With the way that they were attacking, they didn't take too much space, but with the space that they took, they made very good use of it. And I think that's something on Clubhouse that can really come through, right? There's two ways you can play. You can take the entirety of the map, work the map, and execute in a certain way, any way you want. Or you can kind of take not as much control. But if you're going to choose to not take as much control, which is easy to do, right? If you're going to go more direct, it's an easy thing to do. But you have to make sure that you are properly using the control that you're getting. On Oregon, they were able to do that. We'll see if they're able to do that on Club.
Yeah, we will see if they can pull it together on Club. I think that is the big question to ask, right? This initial defensive round is going to be very instructive, I think, for us to see where the Falcons are, right? You've had a timeout. You're in a good position. This is about the best it's going to get in this entire defensive half. Coming out the gate here with a little bit of time to talk among yourselves, this needs to be a round win, right? For your own prospects of winning this map overall, this needs to be a W. So hopefully, for their interest, the interest of their fans out there, they can actually pull this one together and pull it off. I mean, it's a solid defensive lineup. It's also Solus, which I feel like they haven't seen much of the Solus being played by the Falcons either. So a good adaptation from them.
It is. It very much is. I'm still weirded out that there's no Valk, especially considering you could just throw some easy C4s up. Maybe not on this site. It'll help, having information in con or anything like that. But specifically for basement, when we do go there, I'd like to see a Valk brought out, throw some C4s up, see if they can work a pick. But the Solus, like we said, it worked out pretty dang well for Windsor. We'll see if it can work out just as nicely for Concordia.
Well, there you go. Helkerbeck's smashing open the window. Skill Monkey on the drone. similar attacking pattern to what we saw previously. Julian's rum glass line to luck, I should say, runs out right there as he crosses the lines of Augie, who picks him off. Skill Monkey, though, he's still got the luck in him. He'll go ahead and pick off a kill going the opposite direction and take Chocoberry out. But again, of all the defenders you can afford to lose, I do think it's fair to say that Castle is pretty high on the list. He doesn't add a lot to the round once he's initially out. Canadian No Name now running the drone forward there, immediately having to avoid the mute jammer, just trying to get them some eyesight of what they can do off of Jacuzzi here, Joe. And now this is an interesting prospect because Augie is still kind of unmarked, right? And they're going to really go hard in on that Jacuzzi entrance without necessarily knowing where the Solus is. If Augie plays this right, they can absolutely shred this attack if they do it the right way.
The one issue that I have is they don't really have any coverage towards this lobby side, but Sonar does find one, I believe. Where was that from? Oh, not that pixel. No.
Yeah, it must have been.
Oh no. It's a big kill for Sonar to get a big one. It feels like Sonar doesn't have the most kills in this series, but every time he finds one, it's a big one. And that is a huge kill to kind of break the deadlock that they have. But the Sledge found his way into Khan. It's a big spot to be in, but not able to find the kill. Jawbreaker, a big kill. Canadian No Name does find one. That is Sonar hitting the deck now. And that's going to open up the Thermite to be able to walk through the Jacuzzi breach, take some more space. As Buckethead on the master window, not able to find the kill, goes down as the Thermite a little bit too slow to press the pace and find the kill, and he's going to go down, and that is an opening defense win for the Concordia Falcons, one that they've needed to get themselves back into the game as we put ourselves to 4-3, and I'm telling you, this is going down to the wire.
It very well might be going down to the wire here between these two sides. I mean, the Falcons, I said that was a round that they needed to win for their own prospects, Joe. They win it and win it in a solid fashion, so they got to be happy about that. I just don't know the University of Windsor. I don't know what they're going to bring to the table here to really bust the Falcons defense open. It feels like flashbacks to Chalet just a little bit in the sense that they don't seem to have great answers for the defensive setups that are being placed against them. Now, here's an interesting pick, by the way, on the board, and one that maybe we'll see a swap off of, but when you pick him, I feel like you're usually determined to run him, and it's Helkerbeck's on the Fuse. An operator we don't see an awful lot of, but I mean, if used correctly and it gets a little bit lucky, can be absolutely vicious on this site.
Can. It very, very well can. And I think, you know, the Fuse, it's not an operator that people see very much. But if it's ever brought out, it's like an operator like a Capital or something like that. Very situational.
10 seconds remaining.
This is a situation that'll be very fun to see. But as you do see from the setup now, a little bit of an SSG roam. We haven't seen much of that lately, right? I feel like the SSG roam is a lost art.
It's a rare art, I'll tell you that for free. Whether it's lost or not, I guess we'll see. But yeah, haven't seen a team try this in a really long time. Very bold choice, by the way, for round 8 and the deciding map of a final, or I should say of the final map of a series here in Collegiate. And it's one that is going to not pay off at all because the University of Windsor is rushing the bomb site, and this is the kryptonite to the widespread.
They don't have anything to open it.
Yeah, they don't have anybody to open it,
dude.
No, because this would have absolutely crushed them if they hadn't gotten stopped right here. If they don't pick up on this really quick, Joe, if they don't pick up on this really quick, it's going to be disastrous.
Please, I'm begging you to Mav it open. Oh, dude. What are we doing? What are we doing?
They're trying to get Helkerbeck's in position, perhaps, to drop the fuse charges, but they just need to go. I mean, this is a rush composition. Now you've given it up because you sent a drone down there. They know now. You have to go.
Bring the torch out. Start maving it. There you go. And there's still only like 2 or 3 people on site. Just weird. They didn't give up the roam yet. You've got it. Like, this is one of the most telegraphed, direct pushes I've ever seen in my life. There's no noise anywhere on the map outside of here. And all they have to do is kill this player out of back armory. It's the castle. It's all they have to do. A Skill Monkey walking in first, not the Monty for some reason. But the Fuse does get rid of the player inside of back armory. Julian's rum glass finds one. Helkerbeck finds another one upstairs. Has 2 kills for the fuse, and the bomb now finally going down. We'll see if they're able to get this retake going. And Sonar, once again, coming up big, finding a kill, but the bomb is now down. A post plant for the Aegis to come through. The hatch now getting opened as well. It's going to make it very, very difficult. But another kill coming in from Chocoberry to make it happen. The only issue is there's a pre-placed fuse charge on the ceiling, and this is going to have to be a retake attempt for the Soul. It's going to have to kill this fuse up above the Mel. Now, but Sonar has a 1v1 with the Monty to try and deal with this, but unfortunately the Solus has no information on where these players are, and they're not going to be able to do anything about this player. The fuse does find the kill, and that is going to do it. 4 kills from Helkerbex on the fuse. It was a situational pick, and I'll tell you what, for this situation, it just seemingly went perfect.
Wild.
Wow.
Yeah, I University of Windsor getting by with that. Absolutely criminal in the rush, and then they escape. They literally just the jury finds them not guilty. I don't know. That's the wildest thing, because really the Concordia University Falcons should have just come back on that and shut it down. And too long on the reply. I mean, that's kind of how it was, and. Not to focus on Windsor coming in and not having anyone who could get the castle barricade down. I mean, it's just a very unfortunate series of events for both teams. But hey, you know what? I will give Windsor the credit. In the post scenario, the post-rush scenario, they played it very well, right? Like, it was well done. By the fact that they had Helkerbex up in the kitchen on the fuse was causing problems. They deceived the Falcons. The Falcons didn't really understand where Helkerbex was. Frustrating round for the Concordia University Falcons. Just frustrating. There's no other word for it. They've got more rounds. They've got at least another round or two to spare, though. They've got one at least before we're on match point that they can kind of recover from that. And when they're on a different bomb site, and when the University of Windsor is not trying weird stuff, and the Falcons aren't trying weird stuff, maybe it'll go a little bit more in their favor, because that was a lot of weird stuff compacted into one round.
Yeah, and I think another note as well that would need to be made is I think it's not just them. I think it's kind of been a mixture of both teams, and you see this from a lot of teams, so it's not to say the worst thing in the world. Not every team has a perfect understanding of not just what their setup is, but how or why their setup is, right? Like, when you have that kind of situation going where a rush attempt is going to come through like that, there's a reason you're holding the top floor. And it's because if you have logic control, as a defender, there's no reason that anything should be able to get done inside of kitchen. So if there's any vert to be made, the hatch to get open, the fuse charges, none of that should be able to happen if you have the top floor control. Nobody was prepared for that. They weren't allowed to play the back of armory because the fuse charge came through and killed the player that was holding back armory. The second that player back armory died, there was nothing that they were able to do to stop the plant from going in. Now, I'm waffling a lot about the last round. We're no longer on that basement attack. We are now on a CC defense. So I think it's one of those things where these guys have got to understand their rotations. And you see Chocoberry doing a great job of that. Rotating down to bar, finding that opening kill onto the IQ.
Well, good effort right there from Julian's rum glass to force the defender out of position. This is what we expect the Capitao to do in your sort of stereotypical attack scenario, and it works. Augie caught looking. He is brought down. Well, my magnet's not helping him in that scenario, and that's an unfortunate loss. But Sonar getting right back into it here, Joe. They're not giving him a lot of room to breathe. And Stepro is unmarked in Oil Pit, and that could be potentially devastating for the attacking side. As Canadian just tries to force the issue and go ahead and get in here. But there it is. Stepro getting the kill, and suddenly the backside is very vulnerable indeed for the planters.
Yeah, but no C4s left. There's no C4s left. They actually missed the C4, and the bomb is going to go down. Still a 2v3, but Skill Monkey does get out to the plat. The Thermite now has a big responsibility to maybe take down at least one player, but they have no information on him. He's going to find the first. No Name does find one, but is now down to a 1v2. Diosa does have the shield down on main. They have nothing to get rid of it, and one player is going to have to go for this plan at one point, but Skill Monkey finds the first, and the Osa shield facing the case. The Cade of Jawbreaker is going to have to take an unfavorable gunfight onto the Osa, and he finds it! Jawbreaker takes the kill onto Skill Monkey. He's not able to win it and waste enough time, and the Falcons somehow find a way to win the post plant. What on earth is happening?
Yeah, that was really, really, really well done, actually, honestly, by Jawbreaker at the end. I mean, they went a little early in their attempt to force Skill Monkey out of the position because he lost one body there, but Jawbreaker held in calm, very good play to lock that down. All because, too, by the way, that they left Stepbro unmarked. That was literally the deciding factor right there. If they had caught Stepbro in an oil pit and killed him at the start of that round or midway through that round, they would have been able to lock that bomb down from like 2 or 3 different angles, and that would have been it. But unmarked, and he makes him pay for it, and he opens up some significant vulnerabilities there in the University of Windsor attack. So it's back to the drawing board, and this one remains a squeaker. I mean, we're 2 rounds off of overtime. Like, that's how close this is between these two teams, and the University of Windsor, Joe, they just can't seem to put this one to bed.
Oh, and that's another round where you're kind of sitting there like, dang, they really should have won that. And that happened on Chalet in a position pretty similar to this, right? That was the round that made it 4-4, and they could easily be up 6-3, sitting on match point at this moment in time, but just peaking a second too early. You can't really blame it, right? Skill Monkey has had an incredible series up to this point, and really, to me, is the only reason they are even in the lead in this map. But a tough one to lose, and you gotta hope, at least in this position, they can come back a little bit better than they did on Chalet, because, you know, this is map 3. You don't have time anymore to sit there and be like, all right, guys, like, you can't lose the momentum at this point. There are 2 rounds away from winning this series. You can't just sit there and be down on yourselves, and you gotta bring it back. Bring the momentum back in your boat as soon as possible.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and I agree with it 100%. It's a very important, I think, in this round that the Falcons get a win. They capitalize on what happened. They push it to a 5-5, because I think if they can push it to a 5-5, they stand, I don't want to say a certain chance of winning, but like I think the odds are much more heavily in their favor. Chocoberry goes low on the shot and catches Corbec on the headshot, and that is the Nomad down and the 10-6 gunner here for the University of Windsor. That is unfortunate indeed. Julian's round glass rolling the drone forward right there, ushering himself into the site, goes for the direct gunfight, and he wins it out. Now a 4-4. Jawbreaker, the hero of the last round, done and dusted as Sonar becomes increasingly under threat here in their bathroom position.
And a lot of control now for Windsor, as they now have logic control, and they're going to continue to build off of that. Sonar still in a pretty good spot. He's going to be able to shut down much of anything that they're going to be able to do here, but still, these players in logic are going to make things happen. Sonar gets taken down. Julian's rum glass, a big kill right there. It's all down to Chocoberry and Stepbro. Chocoberry taken down. Stepbro left on his own on the main stairs. The position now known as the shot comes through, gets taken down, and Windsor bounce back brilliantly this time. Put themselves not just on the map point, but series point.
Well, I mean, you can't knock the University of Windsor. They played a hell of a match, right? They're very much stepping up to the plate here on the defense on a hard map where it's sometimes, or the attack, where it's sometimes very hard to win as the attacker. They are not being intimidated whatsoever. And the Falcons, I mean, I did say they had to win that last one. Can they still close this out? I would say it's possible, but it does feel more like, you know, a 70 to 25% sort of scenario now, as opposed to the other way around if they had won that last match. Looking at Windsor, you're just doing what you do, right? You do exactly what you did last time. You know you can win this site. You know you can play it well. Just go through, finish the job, Joe. That's what you have to do, and that can be hard at the end of a long time playing Rainbow Six Siege, but hopefully they have it in them here for the sake of themselves and for the sake of their fans.
Yeah, and I think what I like personally is that,
Bomb
at least from
located by
what it looks
attackers.
like from Windsor, they're changing things up a little bit, at least in the operators that they are bringing. We'll see if they decide to go for a very similar comp. The knock is one thing I'm very heavily looking at this moment in time. See if they're going to change things up a little bit. Maybe have a lurk set up, play for a player down bottom main. They're not going to do that. They are going to switch off of it. We'll see how much it
10
changes,
seconds
but
to insertion.
for me, it's weird because I think the OSA is helpful for how their attacks are going, but I feel like they're not doing enough on the Jacuzzi breach with the OSA, right? I think that, at least on this site, is the most powerful spot for the OSA and has the amount of impact. And if you could throw the OSA shield down on the Jacuzzi, like Jacuzzi Plat, get that bathroom wall open, that is a pretty safe haven to look at half of site. And I think that's what they should be going for here, because I think if they can get that down, this round is practically over, at least from how they've been able to take control of the other areas of the map with such ease. Helping them hold down a lot of the site with the OSA would be massive in closing out this game.
It would be 100%. They're going to go here for the Jacuzzi take. I think that's perfectly acceptable. Get that wall open as per and sort of open up those sight lines. It worked out for them because it did split, especially the defender and bathroom last time. Their intention was very split between the two sides, right? Now you're looking down, Julian here, the one who's checking in. And you don't, I think, necessarily know that Stepro is there. They do, but this Stepro, when the gunfight, he does, and he tries to pull out, but he can't. He's brought down at the tail end. That is unfortunate indeed. Julian's run blast finishing it off with the pistol. 2 minutes left on the round, and one of the defensive pieces is down. And that could give them the opening they need if they can push in through Logi.
It is indeed, and that is an opening pick that is potentially going to be the icing on the cake. But the one thing here is that Windsor still have more work to be done, and that is Augie on the Solus taking down the Nomad, and may not be the biggest of picks, but just evening the man count in general and alleviating that pressure on the CC Plat is massive. The OSA shield is still there, so they're not going to be able to peek the highway, at least from CC, but still, having that player get taken down is going to make it really hard for this player inside of Khan, because a player could flank CC at any point in time. But no name of Ace is inside of Khan, and I don't think they have too much of an idea that this player is here, and at any moment in time, he could start making a move forward, and now Logi is there as well. Windsor have all of this control all over the map. The player on highway still there. Augie not able to find an impact nade, goes out, but not able to confirm the kill. And Windsor just have an absolute chokehold on the site. The Jacuzzi wall open. Khan control, Logi control. Skill Monkey finds another one. Augie off-site. Chocoberry off-site. Windsor have all of the control that they need to close out this round. And Skill Monkey with the OSA going to start walking out of the plant, going to start going down, and it is all down to Augie on the Solus to keep them in this series. A big responsibility for him on his shoulders. Finds the first, but still much more to be done. This post plant pretty easy for the attackers to hold on to, but Augie has the gunny, the Solus, the P90 to work with. See how much they can do, but this just looks oh so difficult, and not gonna spot Bucket Hat on the Jacuzzi wall. And Windsor, unlike Chalet, are able to bounce back off of the clutch that goes away from them and to close out Clubhouse and close out this series.
Well, I mean, it's a good win there for Windsor, right? They did a great job. They played that very well. That last round in particular, a really, really solid effort by them. Way to close down that site. I mean, the score lines, they speak for themselves. Skill Monkey, Julian's, Ron Glass, Hell Corbec's all coming in.